Talk Show. Recorded live.
Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude
and Justin.
We're talking about True Blood episodes, well, really the last half of the season, pretty much.
Yes.
6 through 11, the ones we have missed in the hiatus from our True Blood podcast, the impromptu hiatus. But it's been cool to see all of these episodes develop and try to, think about them overall and then think about where we've come so far this season with the finale next week.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's been going on. There's a lot of storylines. What have you thought so far of the last batch of episodes?
Ton of stuff. I think doing a podcast like this, it's different. It's more like a retrospective, I guess, because we get more of a view of what the whole season is doing rather than just an individual episode. And I think, looking back on this batch, compared to the first 5, I guess, that we already podcasted about, a lot of stuff happened. I don't even know where to start with all the storylines that are going on.
Yeah.
But I'll say in general, I found it to be, entertaining, good. There's a lot of the plots have worked. There's so many of them. I mean, even the ones that haven't, you don't usually get a lot of time to worry about the ones that don't work. So I think, let's see. I think for me, Russell sort of emerging as a character is probably my favorite part of this part of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really came into his own as a character during this period, losing Talbot and the fallout from that. Great scenes there, and of course his big television, I'm gonna eat your children thing was good.
Yeah. But I think he's gonna eat the children before he eats the people, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he also threaten to eat them? I mean, Dennis O'Hare, the guy who plays Russell, is really good. We've talked a lot about his performance off podcast. And I think what really works with him is they never really had him on any one kind of thing for too long.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something, every episode or every other episode, he was something else that he was doing with the character or after or wanted. And he wasn't as sort of one note. And I think that made him, I feel like, someone like the Queen who only kind of wants one thing or the specific thing, and it's just like she's always going to be this kind of way. And
what is it that she wants?
Well, she wants whatever she wants. I mean, she wants money. She wants
money.
I mean, she wants power. She wants the stuff she wants, but it's all sort of just like more one-dimensional, I think. It feels like Russell Edgington, they kind of, from the first early chronologically stuff we see from him and, killing Eric's family and going around the old world, I guess, collecting trinkets.
Yes.
With his pack of werewolves, and then all the way through of course, the recent stuff that we've seen most of, with, he doesn't like humans, he doesn't like this alliance, to, he wants to take over the world.
Yes.
He's not just content in the political structure that the vampires have set up, so like he's always got a little bit of different things going on that they keep showing with this character, and I think that kept him from being, since really he's just the villain of the season.
Yeah.
He's the guy people have to figure out how to defeat. Like, they didn't give him just one thing to be, and I think that would have made him really boring.
Yes. Yes, I agree. That's true. That's true. A lot of, and I think they've just spent time with him that was kind of unnecessary for his function as a villain.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they gave a lot of little character moments. The stuff with Talbot especially.
Yeah.
I mean, there was something pretty haunting about seeing him on that roof crying to a crystal, jar of his lover's remains.
Yes.
Like, it's like, what? all right.
yeah, it's like a chalice of like vampire glop.
And again, the number one thing, the best thing True Blood does to me, and the number one reason I like it is that it continues to just add little bits to vampire mythology. And I thought, Russell, that little scene of seeing him really address those remains as the person, like, and then the whole little almost like ritual kind of thing that happened in one of the last episodes where he gets the male prostitute.
Yes.
And then he says his goodbye. And it came off like this is maybe something vampires do when they're not there with their maker or their master or their progeny or whatever.
Yeah.
At the true death or something. They do this weird recreation or something. So I like how they keep evolving just the that part of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think and I guess another big thing they've introduced obviously is what Sookie is. She's a fairy.
She's an alien. Oh.
/ alien.
There's many words for it. That's such a cop out. I gotta say, the
yeah.
way that came off, because you know what she is, and what she is a fairy. There's no other words for it. Okay,
yes.
That's what it is, and I felt like they were trying to pull that the Maynard card.
Yeah, totally.
Where to me that worked because I think your general True Blood viewing audience hasn't recently heard of a Maynard.
Right.
So giving it other names, especially it being so ancient, makes sense. Over time, but I don't know. Even when Bill was like, he's like, there's other names, and she's like, yeah, like what? And he's like, Finadrea. He said something else, and then the other thing he said was alien. Like he came up with like really like two things it could be, and then a silly answer for the alien.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool in a way, but but it's not realistic. It's just like I don't know. That little part came off like they're trying to make it seem soften the blow, I guess.
Yeah.
Of she's a fairy. I'm just like own up to it. Make fairies badass. Make them cool. I don't care what the name is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And they're not going to be the traditional Tinkerbell fairy. So obviously it's going to have to be darker than that to an extent. So
yeah.
Just own up to it.
Yeah. It's sort of like they are using some of the classic kind of image, at least when they show the fairy world, which I guess we're still not sure exactly what that is or where that is. But the way they depict that does seem. I mean, I guess they don't have wings and stuff, but it does have that that lush sort of quality that you associate with fairies.
Well, and it's also a sort of reflection of like an ideal, very minimalist version of a society. Because it's almost like that could have been some Greek thing too, some ancient Greece, like everything's great and we're drinking wine and whatever. So it's got those qualities. But then there's a vortex to another dimension in a pond. So
right.
I don't know what that's about.
Yes. And so the other thing they told us is that I guess the vampires mostly wiped out the fairies at some point in the distant past. So that's also adding to the vampire mythology and just the general mythology of the show, I guess. Setting up this conflict because we have our main character, a fairy, of course, and then Bill the vampire, and then
just when you thought they wouldn't have another reason to keep them apart. Just when you thought the coast was clear and sort of sworn enemies historically, like you killed all my people. All right, well.
Yes.
Does that mean we can't go out?
Yes. Yeah, so that was interesting. I guess, when they originally showed Sookie shooting the light out of her hand, I really had no idea that's where they were going with this. It's it's a weird kind of surprise because when you find out, it's sort of like I don't really know what to do with it right now.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, and I think that's probably because they haven't really delved into what that means on True Blood.
Yeah.
You know, what are they going to do with it? What does it mean for her character? I think, like, you know, it's kind of like, okay, well, you know the connotations that your mind brings up when you hear that word, and then from what they've shown, but it's like, okay, well, what are they going to do with it? You know.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously that's the first big kernel of that storyline is, you know, them setting up the conflict, you know, between, you know, vampires and fairies. So
Right.
we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I've liked this season. You know, definitely they still had a lot of great moments and a lot of great shocking scenes and really interesting storylines. But there's so much going on. I feel like if they would have trimmed it some,
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have been better. But it just seems like there's definitely storylines I'm not digging that much.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like Jason's got he's kind of got 3, almost 4 storylines kind of going. I mean, he's got the thing with Crystal, the thing with the football guy, Kitch Maynard.
Oh God.
He's got the wanting to be a cop, Andy Belfleur storyline.
Oh.
He's got whatever's going on with Tara storyline.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a smaller one, and then, you know, whatever's going on with him and Sookie, you know, he's trying to protect her, that's a little thing.
It seems like the Tara thing is more or less over. Like, it was just
I guess so.
him telling her that he shot eggs and, you know, pretty much it.
I remember when he shot eggs, and I remember saying, well, you know Tara's going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to imagine what was going to happen when she found out. And this isn't, I guess, what I thought.
Me either. I expected it to be a bigger thing.
Yeah, I guess I was just surprised that, and I liked how they played it. I mean, you know, she confronts Andy, and
yeah, she seemed to direct her anger towards Andy.
Yeah, and I think it seems like maybe she was thinking Jason didn't know any better, but Andy should have or something. But what was interesting was she seemed to have the impression that they did it on purpose, or, you know, well, basically she didn't know the context of his killing, you know, and so she was thinking one thing, and then after, of course, talking to Andy, she not only sees how sorry he is, but sort of gets a clearer picture of what was going on, and that they weren't out to just murder him,
right.
You know, for some reason, that they just we're going to go kill eggs because he was with Marianne or something.
Yeah,
or,
and
you know,
sort of lie about what really happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, I think that's why she sort of suspected something, just because she found out, you know, that he had been taking credit for being a hero, and it turned out that wasn't true, so then she's like, okay, so there's something, you know, there's something suspicious about this, you know, and she sort of thought that, I guess you know, they just killed him for whatever reason and covered it up.
I mean, she just really thought they just killed him, and that would be pretty upsetting.
It would.
You know, she's gone through so much this season. I mean, she goes through hell. I mean, Tara started out going through hell in the pilot. You know, her first scene is her calling out people.
Yep.
You know, at where she works and getting, you know, and quitting, and just, you know, and she hasn't stopped since, you know.
Yeah.
Being such a high energy character, and there's high drama, you know, so much going on around her, and getting pulled into things, and this whole thing with Franklin, you know, this season was you know, so traumatic, and then she tries to kill herself, and Lafayette saves her, and all that stuff with her mom, and then that was pretty crazy, but yeah, so we had the return of Franklin for a brief second.
Very brief.
You know, I guess we had all thought R.I.P. Franklin because his head got bashed in. But that's not enough to kill a vampire, apparently.
Guess not.
Yeah.
We learned something.
As they say, with enough time and money, vampires can heal almost any wound.
Wow.
They say that. It's kind of cumbersome, but anyway.
Yeah.
Lost True Blood crossover there.
Yes. I think I always suspected that he wouldn't actually make her into a vampire. I didn't think they were ready to commit to that.
I always think it's time. I remember remember watching the last couple of True Bloods again, and when Tara tells Sookie that Franklin tried to turn her and all that stuff, and I remember thinking back in, I think it was season 1, where Bill bites Sookie or something, and I'm thinking, oh, they're going to turn into a vampire. It's time already. I'm like, wow, it's still not time.
Yeah.
That's really not time. So, yeah, for Tara, I thought, okay, yeah, they'll make her a vampire. That'll be great. I think I'm just eager to see these people become vampires.
It would be interesting.
Some of these characters, like Lafayette or, Tara, see some of these characters turn to a vampire, especially the ones who've been victimized by them, who would be lured by the power and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense for her, but they still haven't done that yet, so it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what the books, I don't really obviously follow the books, so I'm not sure what's going on there with her long-term storyline.
But they have deviated from the books in a number of big ways. So, I mean, they could even...
Lafayette apparently died, he dies in the first one.
Yeah, he was... they teased us with, making us think that he might be the body in the car at the end of season 1. But
and in the books he is.
Yeah, it's actually him in the book.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, so obviously he's done a lot of stuff since then, and all that is original. So yeah,
this whole thing. I mean, and that's a good point, considering his new big storyline. The romance of Jesus mixed with this new voyage into the V world. Which I love. I mean, what they've done with it so far is it's so cool, and interesting, and also creepy and demented. It's pretty awesome. It reminds me of the early days when. Season 1 stuff, I think, when Lafayette was selling V, and when Jason and Amy were doing V, and getting into it and talking about the different experiences and the qualities and what you can that idea of you they mentioned one time the idea of you sensing the vampire whose blood it was or something like that. So I don't know. It's interesting when they get into that whole thing and exploring that random crazy V world.
Yeah. That storyline looks like it's not going to finish this season, I guess, because it feels like it's not developed enough to really. They have one more episode to resolve it if they're going to. I don't think, with everything else going on, I can't imagine they're going to. They'd have to do it in like a scene or something, and I don't really.
I think they will probably just have some kind of cliffhanger thing with that storyline in the last episode. It'll be something that happens where they're not done with it, but
Yeah, I feel like I should be able to guess where they're going, but I always say that, and I never do. And then when I find out what it is, I say, oh, well, I should have guessed that. But that's basically what happened with the Sam thing and the dog fighting. I think we did talk about on the podcast like what could be going on with Sam's dad and Tommy, and you had a pretty dark theory about what was going on there.
I was a little off there. A
little bit, yeah. I mean, they could have gone down that road, but they went somewhat lighter with dogfighting. Something bad, but not sort of horrifically bad, I guess. To watch.
I misread the clues. I went too far with my hypothesis.
Yeah.
But the dogfighting thing was interesting. And part of me is their go-to animal forms are dogs, and I forget how I guess just concrete that is. I just think of them as shapeshifters, and they can just be whatever. So I wasn't thinking, oh, he's making him, do something in the form of a dog.
Right.
And so that dog fighting didn't come up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I guess Sam has had kind of a downward spiral this season, from originally meeting his family and that kind of turning to shit.
So you're saying after Sam met his family, his life fell apart. What are you saying about families? Yeah.
I don't know. There does seem to be a message there. I think you're right though with the Lafayette story that I was going to say. Like I do think. Well, you know what? Season 2 had it too, I guess, with some of the Marianne stuff. It's weird when they go for that more horror kind of vibe, because they really, even though it's like a world populated with monsters and stuff, like they really don't do it horror style very often.
No, they do it as a straight drama most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a drama with, like, monsters.
There's blood and gore, but it's still sort of drama.
Exactly.
But they don't do the horror element all the time.
Like, in a normal show, it would just be, like, people getting shot or whatever, you know. Yeah. But in this case, you know, it's a giant fucking mess when they stake him. But still, in the end, it's really just, you know, killing off this character so they can move the plot forward, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think, that's another thing. Death of Lorena, I think, was a good moment in this segment. Not necessarily because of the death itself, but I think personally, and I think, you know, there's probably a number of people out there who may be ready for Lorena to go. She had her story, and I think she fulfills her role pretty well. But she was. As you're saying about, you know, Russell not being, you know, she was definitely a one-note kind of villain. You know?
Yeah, that's a better example. I said the Queen earlier, but she's a way better example of a character who's around for a lot of episodes, but just like really just had one harping thing that the one thing that they harped about the whole time, and it never really changed. You know, it never really progressed, and she never had any real tactics other than to just physically capture him.
Yeah.
And just hold him down, you know, and she did that several times.
Yeah.
And it just got like, well, what do you have, you know, it just, that's just sort of boring, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to keep watching that.
So that was episode 306.
Okay.
Or maybe, well, that's when she has him captured.
I guess, yeah, I thought that was more like 7.
Yeah, I think 7 is where she actually gets staked.
Yeah, she does that Bill torturing stuff before that.
Yeah, all the, I love you.
Mm-hmm. I love you so much, that's why I'm going to torture you.
I'm going to torture you out of love. I love you, Bill Compton. But I will say, I don't know. Well, no. I was going to say I kind of liked her more this season, but...
Yeah, you know, I want to say that, too. She was better and yet still not good enough.
Yeah, it was like, yeah... I don't know, yeah. You know what? She had a couple of good moments throughout her run, though, I will say. You know, there's definitely some scenes that I think her character is really good and works.
Yeah.
But most of her scenes, she's just the annoyance. You know, she's the one who's in the way.
Yeah.
And that's hard to, you know, get, I think, an audience to like you if that's kind of your role. Sometimes.
Yeah.
You're just the person who stands in the way, and you want, you know, you're just an irrational person.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and Bill is never going to start loving her all of a sudden.
No, he's going to be like, you know what? This is the 20th time you've captured me and held me down because you're my maker and you're stronger than me. I just realized I love you. You know, they say the third time's a charm, but in vampires it's 20. And it works.
I don't know what she would do if he actually did that. I feel like she would be confused and
she just explodes.
Yeah.
He would just like spontaneously combust.
Yeah, I can't see her actually being able to process that. Because I feel like it's, you know, she wants him, but I think part of it, you know, and she kept saying this, maybe it's partially lying to herself, but, you know, the idea that he's just playing hard to get.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I don't know if this is true. I'm probably, I don't know, maybe looking into it too much, but they'd have to tell us this more explicitly, but I'm wondering if there's something to her character that they're trying to say in terms of her being his maker, and some sort of connection and feeling there that like she's being more compelled towards him because of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's some weird psychological vampire thing where if the person you turn is rejecting you, somehow that makes you want them more or something. Like they didn't ever say that, but I'm wondering if maybe that's something going on there. Because to me that sounds interesting, but they never really said it, so they'd have to show us or tell us some other way. But otherwise she's just really irrational, you know. But I'm wondering if there's the subtext there. Is there some sort of like the same way there's other emotions and needs that sort of vampire supernatural things, like, you know, being invited to a house and stuff like that, and these sort of impulses and things you can't control. I'm wondering if maybe that's something where she just, you know, like if he was just another vampire, she wouldn't have gone this far. Yeah. You know, even though he's the same person, but the fact that she made him somehow like, and he's rejecting her somehow, she just can't help but be this awful.
Yes.
But I think I'm reading into it more than they're telling us that.
Yeah. I don't know if you can take it that far, but I do think the show has made pretty clear there is supposed to be some kind of bond between the maker and the progeny. You know, they've done that with Eric and Pam, and they've done that with, you know, to a certain extent, Bill and Jessica. So I feel like there is some you know, evidence for the idea that, you know, she was maybe drawn to Bill and maybe Bill drawn to her in a weird way, you know, that he didn't like. Yeah. You know, it's similarly to how, you know, Sookie will occasionally have, you know, the sex dreams about Eric or whatever. You know, just, you know, being somewhat against his will, drawn towards her just because she's his maker. Yeah. And that may be making it worse or something. Like, I feel like, you know, something like that. But they didn't really say it, so who knows. But yeah. Well, we say it so they don't have to. Yeah. It's true until they call us and tell us otherwise. You hear that, Alan Ball? Call me, because I want to work for you. So what else with these earlier episodes? So the big thing, we had Franklin kidnapping Tara. We talked about that. That whole thing. Franklin was good, but it's like in the end he was just kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't. You know, that's sort of the Lorena thing. You know, just like in the end you can't be reasoned with, and there's not much you can do. You know, we're just going to reach an impasse on whatever the topic is. Yeah. And it's not. It's not fun anymore at a certain point. Yeah. Exactly. And I guess, I mean, by the time he died, I felt like his relevance to the plot was gone, and you know, I feel like his character sort of degenerated. I mean, they tried to make it so that that's just how he was, like he just does this stuff, you know. But yeah, I think I don't know. I was a bit disappointed because I really liked Franklin more early on. Yeah, well, when he was more mysterious, I guess, huh? Pretty much, yeah. I guess the same is true of Crystal as well, but... Oh, Crystal, man, ooh. Yeah. She started low on my radar. Yeah, I mean, she never started high, but I was more interested when she had the mystery. When she was standing in the woods and you didn't know why? The reason is she's a werepanther, that's why. I know. The Franklin thing I was going to say, though, I don't know what they really got out of the Tara Franklin storyline, though. You know, not much. I mean, Tara, you know, Tara's character besides emotionally, but emotionally, she got beat up. Yeah. But, basically victimized by a vampire. And I just don't know where they're going to take that. Like, okay, so this season she was basically victimized by a vampire. Now she really kind of hates all of them. Yeah. That's a big change from last season. And, okay, well, what does that mean? What is she going to do? If it was Jason, he'd go join the Fellowship of the Sun.
you know, because
Right.
he hates vampires. So it's like,
Right.
well, what is Tara going to do now that she hates vampires? And it seems like so far, where we are up till now with episode 11, she's sort of over the vampire, not over the hatred, but over the Franklin thing.
Yeah.
She was just dealing with the eggs news, but now she seems like she's put that to bed a little bit, dealing with let's say Lafayette, Andy, and but now we're dovetailing into the Sam Tara thing.
Yes.
So you know, which he should be careful because her last boyfriend got killed. Is that too soon? Is it too soon? I don't know.
Too soon. Yeah. It kind of felt to me like Sam had his like temper tantrum where he just like get the fire, I hate you all, everybody go home. Like I'm just gonna sit here and drink and. And I feel like Tara was sort of in, I guess she was past her, like, anger phase, but still
she was chill.
Yeah, yeah. But still kind of hating herself and hating her life. And so I guess I feel like they both sort of bonded over their respective situations. And
well, misery loves company.
Yeah.
I just made that up.
That's a good one. Holy shit, write that down.
I should coin that. I should put that on a T-shirt. That'd be actually funny on a T-shirt if you're actually with somebody and you're wearing that shirt.
Nice.
Kind of like the I'm with stupid shirt or something. A joke turns on to a good idea.
Look at that.
Look at that. 1-2 punch. Yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. Tara and something. Tara and Sam. Yeah, Misery loves company. And but okay, so what do you think about Sam? Because in the last episode, his first scene is him, I think, coming into the bar upset, right, and like yelling at people.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why are you mad? Because if I'm not mistaken, the last scene in the previous episode that we saw him in was, I think, the last scene from his flashback, where he we see him shooting the girl he was with, and then shooting the guy, and then we flash back to Sam at his house, sort of remembering that and thinking about it. And so I guess after he thought about it, he
got really mad
to kick some ass. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like I don't know why he jumped from being sort of sullen and introspective to just like angry and just, really the most angry we've ever seen him. I think. I mean, kicking everyone out of his place.
Yeah.
Pretty drastic.
And basically almost firing all of his employees.
Yeah, exactly. And telling his brother who he just saved to get lost, and so, he's at another level.
He was just prepared to alienate everyone, and so I guess I mean the best I can do to make that to try to read what they're doing with that is he sort of says to Tara that that he feels like he's always been the nice guy. He's always been, there for people, and people have felt that they can get him to do things for them, and and he's always acquiesced to that. And I guess he feels to a certain extent taken advantage of. And I guess like the best I can do is to just have that be sort of what's going on in that flashback, the long con basically.
Well, I like that. I mean, that makes sense to me, but it seems like it doesn't exactly gel with the flashback unless they're telling us the con was the girl's idea, like to steal the jewelry, and she had him go do this because somehow she knew he could get it done, and she's in, like you're saying, this is another example of him being used. Yeah. Somebody getting him to do something. But the way the flashback came off to me was that he was somebody who's robbing places on his own. And she, then he met her somehow, and, they decided to do it together or something. Yeah. So I don't know, which way did you read? Did you read it as if it was her idea to do because I mean there is that scene when the girl's boyfriend comes in And he says, Sam asks her, are you in on this? And the guy says it's her idea. And I thought it was only limited to, let's rob this guy of the jewelry.
The betrayal,
not
yeah.
The betrayal, not that the heist was her idea.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, how did you read it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I really didn't have a prehistory in my head of whose idea it was or what happened before that. In my mind, they did the job together, and she betrayed him. And so I guess for me, that was as far as I went with it. But I guess you're right. It would make more sense to make it line up if it were her idea.
Because, like you said, and you laid it out pretty perfectly, he's upset about like he says in that scene with Tara. He's upset about people being using him. And so what does he do? He kicks out all the people who are using his bar, all his patrons.
Yes.
Who are, probably getting he's probably charging them less for food than he normally would.
Right.
He's probably doing something nice for them. He kicks out the people that he's hired.
Yeah.
Who he's probably giving them a job because he feels sorry for them or whatever. Because he does it with everybody.
And in particular, his brother, he definitely felt used by his family.
One, right? His brother was the last big one who was literally sort of, not using him, but living off of him.
He could, if Sam chooses to, in a dark mood, he can look at it that his brother is using him, for money, for a job, for stability, stuff like that.
Exactly. He put his neck out there really far to get him out of trouble several times with his family, and then the whole big thing of rescuing him and all that.
And of course, the family kind of used him as well.
It makes sense if we're going from the flashback is him remembering when he got used by the girl.
Yeah.
Now he's going to go kick out everybody who's using him. That makes sense. But I got the sense from the flashback that this was how he was making money because he wanted to.
I mean, I kind of agree that if I had to put in the earlier part of the story, I would say that that's something he was doing, and he wasn't necessarily pulled into it by her.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's too fine a point. Maybe that's it's they don't want us to think that specifically about what was going on, but that's just how it came off that. He was, because that's how it was in line with what we saw his earlier stuff when he was a teenager, when he broke into Mary Ann's house and was stealing stuff to survive.
Yes.
So it seemed like he was continuing on that, and what they were telling us with this flashback was he made a turn at a certain point to be a good guy or something.
Right.
Like that.
I guess that was a surprise. I thought that the thing with him stealing the stuff in Mary Ann's house, I guess I took that as more like adolescent mischief and not
exactly. He didn't know any better. He had been more or less recently kicked out by his adopted family or whatever, and
exactly.
So he's not old enough to work and all that stuff. So
people. I mean, a lot of people get in trouble when they're kids. They don't necessarily grow up to be criminals. So I guess I never would have guessed that he would end up doing these fairly large criminal enterprises. But I think it really could be clearer, or it could be written more tightly. But that's my best stab at what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because it was shocking. I mean, when he comes in that bar, I was like, what the fuck? I was trying to remember what happened with him before that.
Exactly, yeah. I was totally like, what the hell happened before? That he is just already turned to 11, I'm like, geez, Sam.
Yeah.
We didn't see him, ramp up to this.
Exactly. Yeah, normally you see the build-up for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, something snaps, he hits the last straw, and then he storms in, and then we understand where he's coming from. But it's really, I felt more like an outsider, like someone in the bar, just like, what's going on with him?
Yeah, and maybe that's what they wanted, I don't know. And I'm also wondering if the actor went too far with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering how if he had dialed it back, would it have been more realistic or less jarring or something,
Yeah.
And I don't often get caught up in what the actors are doing. I mean, obviously I see good stuff I like a lot, but in terms of thinking, oh, you should have done something differently, I don't usually think of that. But it came off like, I don't know what's going on in this scene. Either he's way over the top for no reason, or they're trying, or he's way over the top because they're trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it is, because you know.
I think also, so a couple of the scenes with his family, he was getting pretty intensely angry at them. I mean, it was pretty well deserved, so you kind of understood it at the time. But I guess I feel like probably the closest precursor to, like, in the recent times to that is just the scene where he starts punching the guy, I guess Crystal's dad, like in the face endlessly.
The Daddy Panther.
Yeah, Daddy Panther.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like this whole where Sam is at this point stems from Tommy telling him he's a pushover.
Yeah.
That was the first segment of this, and then that led to him beating up the guy who told him he was a pussy or something or whatever he called him, and then he went over the top and beat him up, but it was weird because then the next time he's at the bar, he calms everybody down and he tells them, "Oh, I'm fine," and then I think it was like the next day after he finds out the guy didn't die, he tells everybody he didn't kill everybody, and then I guess the next thing is he goes home and remembers this thing, and then he's just upset all to hell. So
yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, so if that makes sense as a natural progression, then hey, there's no problem. But otherwise, So yeah, we talked a little about Lafayette's storyline. I definitely like the Lafayette-Jesus relationship. It's you don't see this anywhere else on TV. These particular characters and what they're offering and how they interact, and Jesus is an interesting, character in this whole thing with, his backstory, his lineage or whatever, his ancestry, I should say, and his grandfather having plans for him.
Planned for me.
And I had to rewind it when I heard that line, and that his mother took him all over the world to try to get away from the granddad. Like, that's how bad of a thing it was. Like, he's chasing them all over the world to some extent.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. Did you catch that line?
I did not catch that line.
Yeah.
But I only saw the episode once, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they say it, and I'm like, wait, did you just say what I think you said? So there's definitely something to it. It's not just an idle thing. It's like it was a real threat.
Okay. I kind of thought there was something to it based on where they've gone with it since then. But yeah, I didn't really catch that. That's weird.
Yeah, because that's foreshadowing. It's not just like this is in his past. It's like he had plans for him. He wanted something in the future for this kid to do. So that's ominous.
It is, and I guess when they introduced him, I thought he was just kind of a simple guy, just orderly at the nursing home where Lafayette's mom was, like,
a nice guy who doesn't mind taking shit from the people he works with, and he's good with Lafayette's mom. He gets on Lafayette a little bit about dealing drugs, and so he seems like pretty much stand-up guy. I assume he's got a pretty much normal past. I never would have guessed it'd be something crazy with it. I like that he was presented as a stand-up guy and sort of, I'm going to do the right thing and I'm, and all that, and but he's got this, but he's deep into his spirituality and stuff, and he had that little thing when he sees Lafayette's altar or whatever, or the little statue or something. He talks about that, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you were interested in that.
Yeah.
And then they made it where, I really liked his explanation of, when he's after they do the V and he's like, I feel like all the answers to my questions is one drop away. Where he's ordinarily is above this and, drugs or whatever, but it's like it's connecting him to something he's interested in, which is his, his spirituality. So it's like, well, now this is the gateway, into this other world that he wouldn't ordinarily, even consider, because he didn't even know what it would do. So.
Yeah. So what is the idea there? Like, is the V just giving his brain the ability to realize certain things, or?
Well, okay, so I don't know what's going on. I'll say that there is some sort of concept out there of, ancestral memory, collective unconsciousness, of course, and something about, memory stored in DNA and something to that effect. I don't know what we're supposed to think is the mechanism by which this is possible, but but it seems like it has something to do with some sort of deep. I don't know. It seems like it taps into something that's powerful in the subconscious or something. Like whatever magic or witchcraft or something that their respective ancestors were practicing. It was so, seminal that it made a mark in their DNA or something, or in the shared family consciousness. I don't know how we're supposed to think this is possible, because I feel like it's true. I feel like this isn't like a fantasy or like the bee is just making stuff up. I feel like we're supposed to take this as this is, because he validates it.
Absolutely. I take it as true as well. I guess I'm just wondering, when he's not on the V, is he aware of that stuff as much, or does it recede into his memory somewhat? Well,
see, I think in that sequence when they're V tripping, he kind of, I think you can get a sense of what's new to him and what he knows from heart already, what he already knows.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he makes a couple of remarks about, I didn't know certain things. And then I think they did an awesome job, I think, with that whole V-tripping sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, the dialogue switching, voice changing thing, I thought it was really well done. It was so cool and interesting, and their little reactions. There's one part where, Lafayette says something in his voice and, covers his mouth afterwards because he's like, oh, shit, did I just say that, and the way that they play, if Jesus is saying something in Lafayette's voice, he's playing it like Lafayette. Because my point here is that it seemed like they would give the other person the dialogue when it was telling the other person something they didn't know. So basically, Lafayette would be telling Jesus something in Jesus' voice, something Jesus didn't know, something like that. So that seems like the mechanism that they were kind of used to kind of, and then the stuff Jesus knew, I think, he would say himself in his voice.
Right.
The stuff that he kind of, so I think that's how we're supposed to kind of generally view, what was the revelation from the V and what was stuff that they already kind of knew.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Lafayette had no idea about really any of what he saw pertaining to his stuff.
That's what gave me the idea that somehow the V was giving them, I don't know, releasing their memories or something, or giving them some kind of, maybe it was in there, but it was buried somehow, and the V brought it out.
Yeah.
That was the impression I had. Not necessarily everything, but so I guess that means that Jesus did at least know some of that stuff before the V tripping happened. He just hadn't shared that with Lafayette yet.
Yeah, he recognized his grandfather when he saw him, and Lafayette didn't, I don't think he recognized his, I guess, I don't know if that was supposed to be his grandmother, I forget, something like that, or great-grandmother, I think. So I think he, he knew Jesus knew the stuff that he would have known growing up and knowing that he's fleeing from his grandfather and stuff like that, but so I don't know what's going on with them. I guess they're gonna get into witchcraft or something, or whatever. It seems interesting though. I'm this is a really interesting storyline. So
it is. I'm really at a loss to guess where they're going with it.
Yeah.
We don't really know that much yet. I mean, presumably this thing with Jesus and his grandfather will come into play in some way. but there's something with Lafayette as well himself. So yeah, I'm not sure. Like, why is he? So they introduced this idea of flashbacks or something like that, aftershocks, some kind of thing where after you do the you get these little things. Like, are we supposed to? Like, I guess he was freaked out by Jesus after he had that thing where he sees his face, like, he
sees sort of like an ancient ancestral person or something.
Yeah. And then, he clearly doesn't trust him. I kind of didn't either. I mean, when somebody's face turns into that in front of you, it's hard to kind of let that go. But, like, I don't know. It left me feeling a little bit unsure about whether that was just a flashback, like he says, or whether that's actually reflecting what's going on with Jesus to a certain extent. Like he's,
I think it's the latter. I think it's both, but I think it's. I think they made a clear point that the V was connecting them with their ancestors, and I think specifically that's what Jesus is interested in doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding out about his people.
Yeah.
And I think. I think the flashback showed that I think, it made him seem more ominous, and I think it sort of makes it clear that he's got this connection to his ancestors. Like that's coming through visually now, with that flashback. Because even when they were doing the V, when they were tripping on the V, he didn't see him like that.
Right.
So I feel like it's sort of a foreshadowing, or to some degree, the journey Jesus is going to go on toward getting more in touch with his ancestors or something like that, or finding out more information, or I'm interested to see it. It kind of puts him more in an antagonistic position. I get the subtle suspicion that as they keep going down this road, somehow that's going to drive them apart.
Yeah, I kind of agree. That's. I mean, it's already a little bit of a conflict because Lafayette's just scared of him and just asked him to leave immediately after that happens, and then Lafayette's still seeing stuff.
That was so weird. When he wakes up in the middle of the night and the weird little puppets and things are singing, and I can't. I've seen movies where they do that and it's creepy and scary, and this was creepy for like 5 seconds, and then it was silly. When they did the close up of the last little sock puppet thing, and it's talking, I just couldn't take it seriously. It just looked like, an early prototype for, the Pillsbury Doughboy or something. Like, it did not look creepy. And I'm like, this thing is, it just came off so silly to me.
I think with that idea, there's going to be a fine line no matter what you do between silly and creepy. There's
an uncanny valley,
Totally. Because something like that can be really creepy, but you're right. I think they crossed the line.
Yeah, I think when, like, the first couple of shots in that sequence, I thought it was creepy, and I'm like, because you hear what's going on before you see it, and I'm like, oh crap, there's things talking in his living room. You can kind of imagine what it's going to be.
That's
and then you
scary.
see a couple of the things. Yeah, exactly. You see a couple of the things, and you go, oh, okay, that's kind of scary. But when they show the last thing that they do the close up on, that's when they jump the shark, as it were, and I'm just laughing by that point. I'm just like, okay, really, this guy's getting the close up.
Yeah, that's a bit much. I think generally things are scarier far away than they are in close up, and especially little talking dolls.
Especially when you can see the knitting, it says, made with love from grandma on it or something. It's like, well, this isn't that scary.
Yeah. The thing with Jesus was kind of scary, though.
Yeah. You know what? And what's weird about that, I think, is, I don't know, it made me think of culturally, why is that scary? to see this person in sort of this like native makeup and stuff. Why is that scary to me?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me it was just because, it made it seem like there was something, sinister within him.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the way, I mean, obviously it's scary because of the way they did it.
Yeah.
Popping out of nowhere and stuff, but it was just like, would it have been scary if, like, it was, some Victorian man or something?
No, not scary anymore.
Not scary, right?
That's just silly.
Yeah, it's just, in a top hat or something. I don't know. Like,
oh, I love to do that.
It's not scary.
No, it's not. It's not.
But anyway, yeah, that stuff was good. So we talked about the good storylines. You want to talk about the crappy storylines?
Please, let's. Yes, there's plenty to say.
Waiting for.
The one I want to address is a very small one that they've kind of dropped. But earlier in the season, earlier in this group, I guess, there was about, I want to say 3 or 4 scenes involving Arlene and Jessica, where basically Arlene was freaked out because Jessica's a vampire, and so she's just scared of vampires and doesn't trust her. And then usually the punchline of the scene is Jessica does exactly the kind of thing Arlene is afraid of.
She really had that pattern going on, didn't she?
Yeah.
Arlene's like, I hate when vampires tap dance. And then, like, Jessica doesn't tap dance. And it's just like, well, why are you proving a point?
Yeah, there was a thing like, she was worried Jessica was going to glamour her, so she wasn't looking at her. And then Jessica immediately glamours a couple into not giving her a tip.
Yeah, it was Arlene. She was like, Jessica was like, why do you hate vampires? And she was like, because you guys glamour everyone. And Jessica was like, no, we don't.
What are you talking about?
She glamours the next customer.
The next people she sees.
The very next people. Yeah, I don't really like. I mean, it was fine the way it plays out, but just in terms of her character responding that way, I don't know why they do that.
I don't either.
Weird. It's so weird that she doesn't find other ways to get, to maybe get that couple not to tip them without glamoring. But it seems like she doesn't care. She's like, but she can't be, self-righteous.
Right.
Or feel like Arlene is wrong in her critique of vampires when she's not only doing it, but does it right after Arlene tells her what she doesn't like.
Exactly. Yeah, so I didn't know what to do with those scenes. It was like I just come away. So Arlene's right? Like, is that the takeaway?
Yeah, because it's supposed to be like Arlene's argument is all vampires are bad.
Right.
And Jessica's argument is supposed to be, no, vampires are only, as bad as they want to be, or as bad as the next person.
They're as bad as humans can be.
Yeah, as bad as humans can be, and they have self-control, whatever. But it's like, it seems like the answer is no.
Not really, yeah.
Not really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they have made somewhat of a point that new vampires are supposed to be maybe less able to control themselves.
Yeah.
Than older ones. So maybe that's part of the excuse, but I guess I thought that was building to something. It's interesting that Arlene is so dead set against vampires, while at the same time, another thing we find out in this pod is that the baby is Renee's, and she basically sees she sees this baby as evil because she sees Renee as evil, and so I guess since Renee also had this thing against vampires, which is sort of what led him to go on his killing spree. There's interesting they have that in common, even though she thinks of him as evil.
Well, because she's not going to go kill humans because she hates vampires.
Right, because she's not evil.
Because she's not evil.
It's interesting. Her vision of evil at the moment is a human who hates vampires, while at the same time, she thinks vampires are evil.
Well, but you have to add in the fact that it's a human who hates vampires that kill people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the defining quality that makes them evil. Because you can hate vampires all you want, just like her, and it's not going to make you evil. It's
yes.
So I think it's.
But I guess what I'm saying is I feel like that sort of proves sort of the idea that humans can be as evil as vampires.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Oh, I don't think she would disagree with that. I think she feels like all vampires can be evil versus she knows all humans aren't evil. The capability is one thing, but she feels like vampires that's just their disposition and they can't be changed.
Right.
And Jessica proves her right, usually.
Yes.
So I mean, and I feel like that's fine. Vampires are they're not human. They're totally different. They have certain instincts that they can't help themselves and they're compelled to do, and they're vicious and they're more animalistic, and that's what makes them interesting. I don't want them to be, I think it's fine if a vampire wants to control themselves and mainstream, as they call it, and have that moral battle that Bill has, but at the end of the day, they're a different animal, and they're, they do what they do.
Yeah, I guess, I'm fine with it too. The only time I find it weird is when they start pushing, what I think was the original idea, which is sort of using this vampire coming out thing as an allegory or as a political commentary,
Mm-hmm.
and then it feels like a weird addition to say the people who hate the vampires are right.
Mm-hmm.
They are bad. They are a scourge to society. It's weird to do the allegory and then to say, well, the vampires really are kind of bad. Because I feel like that makes the message weird. Like it's almost saying you could view it this way, and maybe people are right. Maybe they are bad. Maybe we should eradicate this.
I think the thing is the allegory only goes so far.
Yeah.
I think it goes to the point of saying, here's a minority group that is coming into the mainstream, and how do people react to that? But you have to note that the allegory ends when you attach the minority group are vampires.
Yeah.
Because the way vampires are, they feed on humans. So I think it's if that minority group is say maybe fairies.
Mhm.
Then I think you get a different story where everyone doesn't hate fairies because fairies don't go around killing people.
Right.
And feeding on them. So yeah, I agree though. I think the allegory has ceased because it's not about that anymore. I think the last time they really, I think were really dealing with that to any real extent, I think was when Jessica first started dating Hoyt. And that kind of stuff. I think it was really about the new vampire and she has to tell somebody she might like that she's a vampire and all that stuff and deal with that identity and stuff like that. And so since then, I don't really think they've really done too much with that whole, the mirroring and the political aspect of what the show kind of started out being about.
Right.
There's been too much other things going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's way beyond that at this point. I mean, I think, anytime you do something like that, it's going to wear thin at a certain point, and I think, you really at a certain point just you care about the characters and not about what they represent,
Yeah.
And so I feel like Mad Men sort of went through that phase as well, where it became more about the individuals and less about the social commentary and look at the 60s, aren't they crazy?
Totally. Because they used to have a lot of those moments on Mad Men where they would talk about a product or talk about public opinion or state or show something or state something that's a product of the times, and you go, whoa, we've come a long way, or whoa, we haven't come that far. Either one.
Exactly.
And they seem to have done less of that recently.
Right.
And it's been more of just about the characters doing their thing.
Yeah, who just happen to be characters living in the in the mid 60s, but perfectly relatable on that, in that context. So I guess I think you just can't, to do an allegory, you just can't. It wears thin after a while. So I agree. I mean, I do think they've abandoned it. It's just that I guess I feel like characters, Arlene's prejudice, and like some of the stuff they show, I feel like they're kind of lingering with that with that idea a little bit, and so that's why it brings it to mind. But I agree with your point. I think you're right.
Yeah, and I really think the Arlene Jessica stuff was really more about, at this point I think it's really more about Jessica being okay with herself.
Yeah.
And Tommy got in on that and basically told her that you're cool with, and really having to do with herself reconciling what she did and killing the guy and being a vampire with Hoyt and all that stuff, and sort of, so I think it was really sort of, Arlene kept challenging her, you're bad because of this, you're bad because of that. And it was like, yeah, I am bad because of that. And I guess told Hoyt.
Maybe she learned not to feel bad about.
I think that's what Tommy was trying to get her to do, is like, don't cover up your fangs.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Is like, don't hide being a vampire. And maybe that's still, you can attach that to the allegory too, I guess, if you look at it that way.
Yes.
Don't hide your identity and embrace it and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's true. But it also works just on the character level.
It seemed like it was a way to, refute claims about vampires and how evil they are, but just validated them. So it's like, well, that shouldn't be what they're telling us. So I think it's more about Jessica identifying with her vampire traits and being okay with that, and then that leads her back to Hoyt, because now she's like, you can take me or leave me, because now I know where I stand on the things that I do. So
she's prepared to just kind of fully commit to being a vampire.
Yeah.
And just say, deal with it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're right. That works better. I think that's probably the point of that stuff. I guess I just didn't think that at the time.
Yeah, it comes off like the other way we said. The whole thing with Hoyt and getting hurt, and then having to drink the blood, and then anybody who's on B is a different person, and I really love that. Yeah. And I like the new Hoyt. When he's like, feed on me, he's like, problem solved.
Yeah.
And he's all anxious and feels powerful, and that's not the Hoyt that we know. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with Hoyt, because once you do that V, I think it changes your perspective on reality.
I don't know. I think Hoyt's in trouble, because I think his mama and his ex-girlfriend are plotting against him.
So thanks for bringing us back to the bad storyline. Yeah, that's probably the worst one. I think we agree that that's probably the worst story thread so far. Is it Summer? Summer.
Is that? I didn't even know what her name is.
Yeah. I think her name is Summer because she's a ray of sunshine. You get it?
I do, but I don't want to.
Her and Hoyt's mom have these Machiavellian plans of getting Hoyt engaged, married, plotting behind the scenes. Yeah, that was a bit much. I mean, I don't like the Summer character. She comes off as annoying, and that's really what she's supposed to come off as, because she's Hoyt. But I did like the little extra bit of character about, you do realize that why she's doing it, why she's going so far. And, so I did like that aspect of it. But I thought that scene with the mom was way too long. And she's like, no matter what we do, we're going to get you hitched to my boy. And, it's like, really? We got to spend time with you trying to get Hoyt? It's like, we're rooting for Jessica. I don't know who's Team Summer. Yeah. Everyone's rooting for Jessica and Hoyt, not anybody else. So it's really weird for them to invest any time in that storyline. Yeah. Unless they're going to do something pretty interesting with it. But, like Summer tries to kill Jessica or something.
Yeah. In the couple of scenes they had with Hoyt and Summer, it really didn't seem like he liked her that much.
He doesn't. He doesn't like her. I mean, I think they made it pretty clear that he really, every scene, he's never... I think the first date, he was sort of interested or something. Yeah. But he kept always looking at, what's her name, Jessica. And So yeah, I don't think he likes her at all. I think he thinks she's a nice girl, but I think Hoyt is a good guy who likes bad girls.
Yeah.
I think he I don't know if he liked bad girls before Jessica, but I think he likes bad girls now.
Mm-hmm.
And or at least he likes Jessica. So, Summer's just not going to compare.
Yeah. 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 I feel like he's been fairly sheltered and just kind of living at home. I think Tommy calls him, that's a big 6th grade boy right there, or something like that.
Totally.
So I feel like him, going off with Jessica / just the bad girl idea in general is part of trying to, and with the stuff at the end of the season, like break out of that mold.
Yeah, break away from his mom and all that.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And sort of actually, be his own person, and maybe he's overcompensating a little bit, but I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
And I just for the finale of the season, I just don't want a scene with Summer and Hoyt's mom. I
don't either.
I don't. It's only an hour long. They don't do long finales. I would rather spend time on the 10 other storylines they got going that I'm more interested in. So yeah, that.
I just don't know what their plan of attack is going to be.
What can they do besides just be? Are they going to try to frame Jessica for something, or Hoyt's like?
Yeah, it seems like that's the natural idea. Is who's the obstacle? Jessica's the obstacle, so they're going to have to get her out of the way somehow. So maybe that's what they're going down, the road they're going down. I don't know what else they could do. She's done. Like she said, she was even going to put out. Even though God wants girls to wait. So it says that in the Bible.
Forgot about that line. Oh, God. Yeah, she's so ridiculous. I think for me, number 2 bad storyline is, what's his name again? You're the one that knows this guy's name. What is it? Hirsch something?
Don't say anything. You're going to make me forget.
Oh, okay.
Hitch Maynard.
Hitch Maynard, okay. Not Hirsch.
Yeah, you're saying that, and I'm getting all confused about what the name was. No, don't say anything.
Hitch Maynard, yes. They've had a couple scenes with him this season.
Too many.
Way too many. Why? Why is that there? I guess it's a thing for Jason, but it doesn't. I just don't feel like they're getting enough out of it to justify spending time on it.
I gotta say. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what else to say. I think there's been maybe 4 or 5 scenes about this Kitch Maynard storyline. It started with him, right around the time he wanted to become a cop or something. Jason wanted to become a cop, and he sees Kitch Maynard, and Hoyt tells him, Kitch is about to break your record, and so, and then he tries to teach him some manners because he thinks he's, this hot shot who doesn't deserve it, which he's obviously just like Jason was when Jason was his age.
That's clearly, the point.
So I feel like it was some story about, Jason and maturity and, and then his maybe a little bit about his legacy being, eclipsed or something, and what has he done with his life? I don't know where they were going with it at first, and then they kept going with the police thing another bit, and then he gets caught up with Crystal, so they deal with the Crystal thing, and so now they come back to the Kitch thing of basically the next big storyline with Kitch is he's on D, and I got to say that first scene in I think the last episode where Jason is at the football field and he sees Kitch throwing to his teammates and he's throwing it really hard and really far. And they do the sort of a medium shot of Jason, and Jason has this look on his face and he shakes his head, he nods his head like he realized something. And I'm thinking, what did you realize? Share with the audience, because I don't know what this scene was about. You just watched him throw the football. Okay. I don't know what you just realized, Jason. That seems so absurd to me. And then the next time when you see him and Kitch, I think is the guys are going home and he still wants to play. Oh, okay. Now you get it. Now you see what was going on. But it was so weird to me that Jason put it together.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, really, this is the storyline? Like, he's gonna get involved in this kid who's doing V, and it's like, well, and then the whole thing about everybody knows he's doing it. So
right.
So he's gonna go through the trouble of bringing him down through his law enforcement connections or something. Like, I don't know.
They did a pretty good job of making that seem like a dead end, so it just became about, I guess Jason, dealing with the fact that, someone was getting an advantage and outdoing him, and maybe he's past his prime to a certain extent, and he's not that person anymore, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're trying to point at. It's a little all over the place, but but something's going on there, and the something is I don't like it.
Yeah. I have to say in general, let me see. No, I like some of the stuff at the end of season 2 with Jason, but I think his best stuff was with Amy in season 1. I think that was my favorite Jason stuff.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. That was the best Jason stuff. It's gone sequentially downhill, yeah.
Yeah.
There's the season 1 stuff and the season 2 stuff, and now this stuff. I mean,
yeah, he's just been kind of hard to like this season in a lot of situations. I mean, that kind of thing with we might have talked about that in the last podcast.
Maybe make me a cop right now or else.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, just I want everything for no work. Like
exactly. Yeah. I want to do no work, and I want everything handed to me right now because I deserve it.
Yeah.
Why do I deserve it? Because I say I do.
Yeah. Like that that doesn't feel like a Jason who's maturing.
No. And I think that's the thing that's missing for me is any sort of growth from the Fellowship of the Sundays. I still don't understand why he went through that whole thing, and Sookie even explained it to him like he was a kindergartner.
What he should learn from that,
that he needs to think before he gets caught up in things, and that he's gullible and easily convinced, and he needs to, and then he goes, going up against Marianne. The time for thinking is over.
Yeah.
When did it start? when was the millisecond that the time for thinking started and ended? Because I don't remember the beginning of it. That's so weird to me.
Yeah. No, I don't think it did start. I think.
And it's like I know they have to keep his character, for lack of a better term, dim-witted.
Yeah.
But I think he still needs to be able to grow in certain areas and not just, I don't know, just flounder and just do whatever is going on. And
I don't think they have to turn him into Eric or something to have his character grow. I mean, I think he can still have realizations and go through changes while still keeping his basic nature. I don't think you have to lose that, but it does feel like he really never gets anything out of anything.
I almost feel like he's Leonard in Memento. He's got short-term memory loss, and whatever happened 30 seconds ago, he just doesn't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever lesson he learned last week, it doesn't apply right now.
I agree. Yeah, that's exactly what it seems like. That would be a great crackpot theory if there were any space for that.
What other not so great storylines? I mean, there's a couple. And I just think, and I'm not that big of a fan of him and Crystal either. Like you said, I mean, I think her best days were in the beginning when she was mysterious.
Yeah.
And now, there's something unappealing about the damsel in distress who just does not want to be saved. And it's like he goes out on a limb to try to save her, and of course she's conflicted. You want your characters to be conflicted, but she doesn't. She wants to be with the people and all that stuff. But it's like she had that whole thing about she wanted him to help to help rescue the people from the DEA raid or something, or the FBI raid.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then he goes, because she says her dad vowed that if the place was raided, he'd burn the thing to the ground, and there's innocent women and children, I guess, people in there who aren't involved with the drugs or something like that, and innocent Panther people, I guess. And Jason goes, it'd be like Waco all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, you should know that reference. Not that fast. You said that instantly. Like, I've never seen Jason, put two and two together like that so fast.
Yeah.
With such a old reference and fairly obscure, thing. A fairly obscure event, I guess, But I didn't really buy that Jason would say that. But
I didn't either, and I was bothered by the line in general. It just I have to say, like, that whole plot feels like it comes out of thin air. Like it's hard for me to care about it because they haven't even, like, as far as I know, that's all they've really. I mean, they showed a little bit with them earlier in the season, I guess, but they haven't really done a lot to make me care about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, we're going to go stop the whatever from burning, whatever.
It's to me, it's like that compound isn't real,
Yeah.
We haven't, we've seen, I guess, the outside of it or something, but it seems like these these innocents she's talking about, we've never seen them.
Yeah.
All we saw was the dad and his, and the other males who were leading the pack, and, they beat up and harassed Lafayette and all that. So it's like, I don't know why we care about these people. I don't know why they're Were-Panthers. It seems like they could have just been regular humans doing this thing, and it'd be the same story.
Yeah. There's no need to do that, to throw that in. It's just kind of useless. I mean, it tells us that such things exist, but as far as the story goes, it's totally unnecessary. Yeah.
And I got to say, I kind of hate that shot of Crystal being the Panther and turning into a human.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hate the look on her face. She's like, meow. Like, I don't know. Like, she's like, she presents herself as a Were-Panther, and it's just like, I don't know, she's kind of bashful. I don't know what her expression is, but it's so like, I don't know, it's unnerving to me. I hate that shot of like, I'm a Were-Panther, do you mind? Like,
yeah.
It was just really cheesy. It was really bad, I think. Like, oh, look, I walk into a room and there's a panther.
Right.
It turns into my girlfriend. And
I guess I feel like she's got her own problems. And she's not really that focused on Jason, Yeah,
exactly, and it's not mutual. And I got to say, the other thing that makes me not like the storyline is I don't know why he's in love with her.
Mhm.
He said that or something, last episode. He said he loved her, and I'm just like, why? You've known her for 2 days,
It's a bit much.
She's caused you nothing but grief. I mean, you're not married.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a joke about marriage.
Ouch. That's something I was going to say about Talbot and Russell. Like, they were kind of like an old married couple. Like, when
it worked.
When we saw them still together, and so they were just kind of bickering all the time. We didn't really see them happy together, And so, I mean, I guess it's just one of those things that happens over time with marriages, But he's still very very upset that he's dead, even though they didn't exactly have the best marriage at the time,
Well, yeah, and I think in that, their relationship, Talbot and Russell's relationship, and you see their connection, you see their dynamic, and it definitely works. You can see who has domain over what.
Yeah.
He's obviously Talbot's the stay-at-home wife, and Russell's the work. He's bringing in the bread, or the Viking crowns as they were.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. And the thing and you can tell that they care for each other and love each other.
Yeah.
Without it has to, going overboard or really them having to sail it a lot.
Right. It wasn't. They weren't portrayed as being overly lovey-dovey with each other at all.
And I don't get. And that's the thing. There's nothing anchoring the relationship with Jason and Crystal to me, because again, like, he's in love with her already, and I just don't know what is it about her besides her looks that he's in love with. I don't get it. I mean, she's I don't know if she's fun. They haven't done anything fun.
Yeah.
Like, personality-wise, she seems okay or average. And then it's like, and she likes nature. She's supposed to be outdoors. Maybe that's attractive to him. I just don't know why he's – obviously, I'm nitpicking the storyline, but I'm just saying there's nothing – like Amy had something that you could tell Jason was into. And he was pulled into her and loved her because of the kind of personality she had.
But I think she also was very much keyed into manipulating Jason. So there was more of a mutual thing going on with them. He was really like hypnotized by her, and she really, I think, liked having him around to sort of pursue her. Like she was kind of psychopathic, but I think she was interesting. So I could at least understand, why Jason would be drawn to her.
Yes, and I think that cements the relationship.
Yeah.
And so you care about what these characters are talking about or doing. And with Crystal and Jason, it's like, if Crystal, if she left the show, her character, I don't want to say dies because he'd have some fallout from that, but if she left, he'd forget her in a week.
I know.
You just would. And
it's so true.
I think to go so far, again, for the damsel in distress who doesn't want to be rescued, to keep going so far, it gets really tedious when not only is the relationship not cemented, their love not cemented, but she's not that interested in him.
Yeah.
She keeps saying she is,
yeah.
but she just wants him to go help her.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know.
And she also spends a lot of time kind of pushing him away.
And then that's the other thing, too. She keeps pushing him away. So it's really frustrating. It's like, why are we watching these two people who obviously should not be together?
Yeah.
Like, too much going on here.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. That's a storyline that really, it started off okay, but I think it really kind of degenerated. And it's at a point where I'm just like, I don't care. Like, if they just cut to, like, in the finale, Jason, like, whoo, glad I saved all this people in that compound. Like, I'll be fine with that.
The DEA came in and they rescued everybody, and it wasn't, it was fine. The dad fled. He didn't burn it down, and it was fine. I would be like, oh, great, we're done with that.
No problem. Great. You took care of it. Let's move on.
Yeah, totally. Let's move on.
I can live with that. But I think you're right. I mean, Jason in general just has, as you said, a kind of weird short-term memory problem. Because I feel like he's already, moved on from Amy and then the what's his name's wife at the Fellowship of the Sun place, and it seems like he just kind of, he gets in these relationships and they're a big deal at the time.
And he loves whoever it is, whoever the new person of the week is, he loves them.
He does, yeah. But then when they're gone for whatever reason, I think he forgets about it. Yeah.
The only thing I can say is if this thing with Crystal, obviously romantically they're not going to work out in the long run.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert. But but maybe they're going to dovetail this storyline back into his trying to be a cop. And somehow, whatever happens when he goes to help rescue the people is going to get him back on the path of becoming a cop. And that's the only thing I can think that they can save the storyline is if they throw it back on that, because that's the other part of his storyline that they've been lagging on.
Definitely. There hasn't been a lot about that since a lot earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they just hit a roadblock, and Andy's, trying to do stuff, but, I think Andy's happy not having to have Jason around.
Yeah, he's just a problem.
It's almost like Jason forgot. It's almost like he forgot he wanted to be a cop.
It is, yeah.
It was the only thing he ever wanted last week.
Yep.
But that's before he met Crystal, and now she's the only thing he ever wanted. So.
This week.
Yeah, and next week is going to be a box of Doritos. A bag of Doritos. It's going to be the only thing he ever wanted. Not just
it should be
Doritos.
A box of Doritos.
Yeah, a box. It's more special that way.
It is, yeah. I don't know. I believe he wants that more.
The Russell Talbot stuff, I think, his whole, Russell's whole little eulogy to Talbot or whatever, his final words was cool.
Yes.
And that whole thing about Talbot being alone, and he was like, I see now how alone you were, and I'm thinking, I see it too now. I'm thinking about Talbot and how all he had was really the decorations, and he just loved, he just really liked showing people around and his creation, which was the home, and that's really what he had to sort of offer and show, and beyond that, he really had nothing else, and he was always wanting Russell around and always upset when Russell was. So, but you take it as, when it's coming, it's just this nagging or just conflict and just the general stuff you put up with in relationships and this guy, you got to do what you got to do. But it really did sort of give me a different perspective on Talbot's character. Like, I can see how that would be really lonely to be, the companion of the king who always has to do other stuff. And all you have is really the time that you're standing around every now and then,
Yeah, it's weird.
Somewhat like, again, when we're talking about Mad Men, somewhat like Don and Betty, to a certain degree. Yeah,
it was weird for me how the way Russell dealt with Talbot's death did kind of retroactively make me appreciate Talbot's character more.
Mm-hmm.
So you
found that too.
That was just another. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. That was just another sort of aspect of the Russell stuff in this segment of the show that I thought was really good. I think I would say that I think Russell at this point as a character, I think I actually like him as much as Marianne. I think his villainy has been a little less impressive, but his goals are much bigger, but what he's actually accomplished doesn't seem as impressive. He's not quite as scary as Marianne.
And it's because not only does she have this other kind of power, but he's not, you can have a conversation with him. He's reasonable.
Yeah, and he's much more sympathetic than she was.
Totally, totally. Yeah.
She was basically just evil and scary all the time. There was no themes with her.
She was going to do whatever she wanted to do.
Yeah, so it's very different. I mean, he's still a bad guy in a way, but it's more ambiguous.
I think he's a bad guy you like. And,
exactly.
I kind of hope he doesn't die.
Yeah, I do too. Although I think he very well might.
It seems like he needs to get him out of the storyline. Get him out of the way.
Yeah.
But as a character, I agree. I really like him, and I really like the actor too. And it'd be sad not to have him around, but it's like, well, what can you do with him around?
Yeah.
And plus I'm disappointed not to see his, world domination quest. So.
Right.
Yeah, I want to see what that's like.
Me too. And I also feel like his werewolf secret society has kind of fallen by the wayside in the last couple of episodes.
Oh, wow, totally. They're going to be very confused and upset at the next Wolfpack meeting when he doesn't show up, to give them the blood. I mean, their whole thing is gonna, and that would actually be. I don't want to see this on True Blood, but in some other story, some other narrative, I'd like to see the storyline where Alcide, from Alcide's perspective of, because he was upset that his pack had changed,
right?
And so if Russell's out of the picture, his pack is going to change to something else. It'd be interesting to see what happens with him and that whole storyline that you'll probably never see on the show, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But they don't, and Cooter's gone.
Cooter's dead.
He was kind of like a high member of that pack too. So it's like, I don't know what's going to happen with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we'll even see them again this season. I mean, they have a lot going on that they don't really need them for. So
yeah,
I don't even know. Alcide's long gone. So yeah, it's the werewolf thing this season was weird. I guess at the beginning I thought it was gonna be all about werewolves, but as the season went on, it was like, nah, werewolves are kind of just the henchmen this season.
Yeah.
They're
just not that great, and I love. I forget it's the last episode you watched. There's so many we're covering in this podcast, but one of the recent episodes when I think it was the last one where Bill tells Jason, he's trying to get Jason to protect Sookie because Bill has to go to sleep because it's going to get daylight soon, and he says, do you have a gun or whatever? Jason, yeah, I got a shotgun in my truck. And then Bill's like, okay, well, if a werewolf comes, just remember, they're faster and quick and stronger than you can imagine. I'm like, no, they're not. I mean, because you can imagine how strong and quick a vampire is, and they're nowhere near as strong and quick as that. So I'm like, you're really overselling werewolves here, buddy. They're not as fast and quick as more than you can imagine.
Yeah, no, that's true. I can't believe he said that. God, that's such
it stood out. Like, what?
Classic, come on.
These vampires? I mean, these werewolves? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, vampires, they're just, I think, the Maynard was pretty strong. They couldn't really do much against her. So, they have had kind of a little bit of something stronger than a vampire, but for the most part, they really are the strongest on the show by far. And even in that bit where Russell tries to come get Sookie in her house and brings the werewolves with her, and Bill has Jessica help fight them off. Like she takes them on, and she's barely been a vampire.
Oh yeah. Oh totally.
So it's if a brand new vampire can take a werewolf, it's like they're really not
anywhere
and
I think those are werewolves on V too, to a certain extent.
They are.
And that reminds me, Bill had that line touting the power of werewolves, but that reminds me of Eric's line when he tells Sookie, I think, werewolf is even kind of hard for me to handle sometimes, especially if they're on V. And I'm like, no, they're not.
Yeah, not buying that. No.
No, they're not. So I feel like the show wants us to think that I keep saying vampires. Werewolves are more, incredible and spectacular than really they have portrayed them.
Yeah.
Because they really are kind of lackluster. They're just another shape-shifting humanoid.
Yeah.
Who goes to wolf, and that's about it.
Yeah. So they probably can, when they turn to wolves, they probably can run faster than people can, So they, they've gotten a little bit.
Run as fast as a wolf can. Is that spectacular? I don't know. Wolves can do it just fine.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing spectacular about it is that they have, a sort of human consciousness with the wolf running. So it's a bit better, but it's just compared to some of the other stuff they've shown, it does feel underwhelming. And I think the werewolves pretty much got under. They were not very impressive. Which I think is what you're saying. I mean, they tried to talk them up, I guess, but they didn't really deliver the goods in showing them be as frightening or powerful.
Any werewolf that went against, I think this is a true statement. Any werewolf that went against a human or a vampire got killed.
Yeah.
In the end, so at least most of the werewolves. So it's like, what are you going to say? Well, what does that say about them?
Yeah. And as far as I can tell, there's nothing special required to kill them. You just kill them the way you would kill a wolf or a human. You shoot them in the head, and they die, and that's it. So it's not like with vampires where there's these special rules about killing them. So it's, I mean, they're sort of like a mild problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing there, and it made them very apt to be the Vampire King's henchmen.
Yeah.
They're just, they're threshold guardians. They're just the guys who are in the way, and you gotta, they're the security guards,
Yeah. And also, I guess it makes it work that, they can be controlled by vampires because they're really never going to be able to actually overpower them.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And I guess at this point, Russell, I think, is the oldest vampire they've had on the show so far. So I think that's made it good. I did like the bit where he just suddenly pops in front of the car in the last episode. I was really amused by that.
Yeah.
Comes out of nowhere.
It's been weird how they show certain power, certain strengths and feats and stuff. I remember when they're in Russell's house and I think they had just captured Sookie or something, and Bill tries to attack Russell, and he just like spins or something, and then Bill is like thrown off him or something weird. Like, I'm just like, really, a spin move? All right. If that works, that works. You know.
Yeah.
But he does a good job of embodying a certain sense of power versus having to show it. You know,
absolutely.
A lot.
He mostly
and even stopping the car was sort of understated in a way. He just put his hand on it and the whole thing stopped. It wasn't like he jumped on top of it or knocked it over. It was just like, stop, please. This little car toy, I'm just going to stop it.
Yeah, yeah. He didn't seem like he was trying, really.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of, it was just kind of casual, I want to stop this car right now, so I'm going to. But I agree. I think he conveys his own power more through his own charisma than through actually utilizing it.
Yeah.
He comes across as powerful. I feel like with the same personality, he would seem powerful whether he actually were or not.
Mm-hmm.
He has that. I mean, I think the idea probably is it's supposed to have sort of developed over the 3,000 years he's been alive, but, he carries himself with an air of someone who, has a lot of experience and has kind of seen it all and, sort of isn't surprised by much.
That makes me wonder if you could pull a vampire con and just say you're like 3,000 years old, so none of the younger vampires will mess with you.
Yeah.
Like I think you have to be somewhat old so you can display some power when you are challenged, because you will be challenged at some point. But I wonder if he's only 2,000 years old or something. 1,500 years old. He just tells people he's older, and because it's like who's going to sort of say that he's not who he says he is?
Yeah.
Because he's going to predate most of those people, and sort of really, even if he doesn't, how can they verify it?
Right.
So it's, I don't know. I'm sure that's not what's going on, but that's just funny to me to think that he could just really be the weakest. Like Eric could defeat him or something if he really tried. Mm-hmm. One-on-one, brute strength or something, because he's just making it up that he's 3,000 years old.
Well, he's definitely older than Eric.
Yeah, he's definitely older than Eric.
So, we didn't see him before that, but that's at least. Although they never showed him, I guess you could have a weird theory.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe Russell killed whoever that was.
That wasn't really him.
Took over his identity or something.
Wow. If this were Lost, I would expect that.
Yeah, right?
That seems like the kind of thing they would try.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's not really anybody. He's not that powerful at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Henry Gale thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's not Russell Edgington. We found that hot air balloon.
Yes. And, I mean, obviously Russell Edgington is not a 3,000-year-old name.
What? It isn't?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. So, obviously, I mean, at least with Eric, they gave him a name that fits the era he's supposed to be from.
Well, yeah, but that almost seems like a made-up last name, Northman.
Yeah.
It's a little too on the nose for me.
Yeah.
I mean, one more.
I don't think they actually had typical last names at that time. I think it was more about who your father was or whatever.
Something of this clan.
Yeah, or a clan or a location.
That's where all that son stuff comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
Richardson and all that stuff.
Johnson.
Son of John, son of Richard.
Yeah, exactly. Or places,
Mm-hmm.
It's That is where that stuff. So yeah, I mean that part might be fabricated, but at least Eric is, the transliterated version of a real, Viking name.
Yeah, that's true.
So I buy that more. But like, when did Russell decide to name himself Russell Edgington? Like,
obviously during the Victorian era.
I guess
That's my theory. I don't know.
Okay, interesting theory. I wonder if we'll find out.
Yeah.
I don't know why I care about that all of a sudden, but it seems odd. Like, where did he come from? What are his origins? Now I'm curious.
He could have a whole show, I think. I mean, I don't know.
Could.
I think most people who live 3,000 years probably have their own show, but being a vampire with ambitions, I think. Yeah, I'd like to see what was going on. What's he doing during the Civil War or during any of the major historical eras?
Yeah.
So this thing with Sookie and she's a fairy and all that stuff, and the idea that the vampires killed off all the, that's the prevailing theory, that vampires killed off all the fairies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that since we did see other fairies in Sookie's dreamland or wherever that place is that we went to also, that they didn't all die off, that they actually left.
Mm-hmm.
Like they went to somewhere else for refuge.
Yes.
And that's, it makes me think that this alien idea isn't that crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if they are on some other world or something, or other dimension, or because there's some place that I don't think is Earth.
Right. I agree.
At least when you go through that portal,
mm-hmm.
You're going some other place. So I'm wondering. So that's interesting. I that's what's cool about True Blood is it starts with this already interesting idea of a telepathic waitress and then they add in vampire world, and then then it just spirals out from that, and so it's interesting that how far she's come, and okay, now she's got powers, and she's part fairy, and so what are they gonna do with that?
Speaking of Sookie being a waitress, has she worked a day as a waitress this season?
She came back one time when she basically said, I think she said hire Jessica. I think she joked to Sam she should hire Jessica right before he hires Jessica.
Okay.
And I think that was the last time she worked, and I feel like that was coming from when she got back from Mississippi.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And she worked like one time, and then she's been busy.
She's been very busy.
I guess Grant's house is paid for. They don't have a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what bills she really has, so it seems like, she doesn't really have, obviously, financial obligations because she's not working a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she did get some inheritance money, too. I remember that being...
She did, yeah, but she was trying to give that all to Jason.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I don't know. I forget. I think he took it. Did he take it?
I don't remember.
She was trying to give that to him, and I feel like he didn't want it either, but I forget what the resolution was with where that money went.
Yeah, I don't remember. I guess I thought
was that wasn't he didn't spend all of that on Fellowship of the Sun, did he?
Oh shit, that might have been what he did.
That was around the time he needed money for that. But that was only 2,000 or something. There wasn't that much money.
No. But
I thought the check they got was a lot.
It was more than that, but I think he did spend part of it on that. I think that is what he did with it.
Okay.
So presumably he still had, I don't know if it even matters anymore, but...
Well, isn't this place he's staying at now new? Or did he always have this apartment?
I thought he always had that place.
And we just never saw it for a long time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he did, I remember him having a place a while ago, and then he was kind of gone for season 2, so I don't think we ever saw it in season 2. But I want to say it's the place that,
the season 1 stuff.
Yeah, the season 1 stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it. I didn't remember. It's been so long. I mean, Hoyt wasn't his roommate the whole time, right? Or has he been his roommate this whole time?
Yeah, no, I don't think that was true before. Maybe Hoyt was living with his mom.
Hoyt was living with his mom. Yeah, he's living with his mom. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, so maybe he just moved in to where Jason's place.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
of detail.
What else do you want to talk about or bring up with this stuff?
I'll just throw in we talked a little bit about the Arlene's evil baby.
Yeah.
So and another thing, the new waitress at Merlotte's is starting to become a kind of recurring thing. Like, I forgot that Amy actually worked there.
Everybody who comes through there, if you're a woman, you're going to get a job there, and if you're related to Sam, you're going to get a job there. No, everybody works at Merlotte's.
Yeah. And in season 2, it was Daphne.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them had dark secrets, and then and now we have this crazy woman show up, and they've done a lot of weird stuff with her. I guess I don't really suspect her of anything too crazy beyond what we've seen, but she is weird. I don't really know what they're doing with her. But they have her go out with Arlene, and they do this ritual to, cleanse the baby or something, or get rid of the evil or something like that. And I guess it.
Well, I think it was the ritual was to get rid of the baby.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess I wasn't sure if it was to get rid of the evil in the baby or actually get rid of the baby completely.
I think it's to get rid of the baby because I think that's what Arlene says explicitly. She said,
well, I know that was the intention, and I guess I thought the idea was, the baby's evil, so if we get rid of the evil baby, we get rid of the baby. I guess...
No, because she told Terry she didn't want the baby, and then she tells the lady, before this scene, she tells the lady, she says, you mentioned there's other ways of getting rid of the baby. Can we talk about that? And so I think that was the line. And so, they're trying to get rid of the baby. And even in the aftermath, when she wakes up and she's bleeding, she's calm because she's thinking she had a miscarriage.
Yes.
If she was thinking she wanted the good baby still alive, she would have been more upset.
Right.
I think the thing is she was trying to get rid of the baby.
Well, I knew that. I guess I just wasn't sure, because there was that one line that I don't even know her name has, where she says, if do you remember the word, if the baby was supposed to be born, it'll be born anyway, or, she has some little comment to the effect that this won't necessarily prevent the baby from being born.
Yeah. Well, she was saying it may not work, which I think is a good disclaimer for any, ritual like that, but I think she was just basically saying it may not work. And I think there was a bit of ominousness to it also, with the idea of they did this ritual to get rid of the baby and it's somehow not working, and what does that mean in terms of this evil baby that refuses not to be born or something like that,
Yeah, so I guess I wasn't sure whether to think that sort of her apparent miscarriage was really the evil being purged, and she still doesn't want the baby, of course, but it won't turn out bad, and her fears are going to be misguided, or is it that this baby is so powerfully evil that it warded off the spell, and the blood was part of the battle or something, and it really is a really evil baby that's coming,
Well, which two ridiculous scenarios could it be? I'm siding with the idea that this baby. I don't want to say that the baby's evil. The baby's evil, but there's something undeniable about this birth that I think that they're trying to tell us. But I also want to say, if she had a professional abortion or something, a medical procedure, I think it would have worked.
God, I hope so.
I don't think the baby's get that whatever they do out of here. I don't know exactly what happens, but
I think there's multiple methods.
There's things that go on.
Yeah.
So I'm siding. My perspective is that she tries to get rid of the baby. This baby wants to be born, and I think it's coming off ominous, like it's an evil baby to a certain degree. Not that the baby's going to come out evil, but that whatever force is related to Renee is there.
Somehow
and,
still protecting the baby or something.
Something like that. And yeah, so that's my take on it. I don't think it's going to be that they cleansed the baby and that was the evil coming out, and then she's going to give birth and the baby's going to be, because it's like, how do you know when the baby's like
right.
how are they going to show us that this is a good baby?
Yeah.
Like, no, look, you can tell because the evil was purged, before the baby was like, yeah, I don't know how they can go down that road. I think they can go down the road of the baby being seen as evil and resisting not being born and stuff like that, and any other thing that might happen during the pregnancy,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how the doctor didn't explain what happened, though. I feel like maybe he did, but I feel like he didn't explain why she was bleeding.
No, not really. Not really. He just said, that she was okay and the baby was okay, but he didn't really talk about what actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt bad. I wanted her to get rid of that evil baby.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
I was like, I hope this works because that baby's evil, right?
Yeah, and really I just kind of don't, babies are a problem, regardless of whether they're evil, but Renee's baby, like, I don't know, I'm done with Renee. I don't want Renee to have a baby. Like, it's...
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just resisting the whole Arlene having Renee's baby thing. If she was having Terry's baby, this would be a totally different thing, but...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just...
By the way,
and really just based on the time scale of the show, I don't know how far they can really take it,
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that. The time scale of the show, I think since the beginning of the show, has only been a couple weeks.
Please tell me that's not true.
I'm pretty sure I read that the whole show has only been, several weeks. It hasn't been, I don't think it's been it definitely hasn't been years. And I don't think it's been, multiple months either. I think it's really been several weeks. I read that somewhere.
I would have said months. Weeks? Oh, my God, what weeks?
Well, because don't forget the episodes pick up right where they left off, for the most part. So,
But even still, there's going to be 36 episodes. I mean, that alone, if it were one per day, that would be...
that's a month.
That would be more than a month, though.
Well, yeah, that's 5 weeks or something. 6 weeks. That's not. That's
better to me than 2 weeks.
No. So I said several weeks. It's not 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's more I think it's more 4 to 6 or something. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to find out, but
that's so.
It hasn't been. I don't think it's been. I think it's 3 months or less. Let's put it that way. 2 or 3 months or less. That's
a lot to go through in that amount of time.
It is, and that's what struck me when I read that. Is
unbelievable.
These characters are playing these. Last week was Mary Ann. Something like that. 2 weeks ago was Mary Ann's fiasco.
And a couple weeks before that is Renee and
and that's why
they're meeting Bill for the first time, and it feels like they've been together for years. And
here's the thing. That's why this can still be Renee's baby.
Right.
Because it had been very recent. He only died a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
If it was 3 months ago, it shouldn't have been his baby. Because she should have been showing by now.
Yeah.
She just started her pregnancy, so that should date how long it's been.
Yeah. You're right. It's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird that it's so
because I think the usual thing I expect shows to do is to have the time kind of play out roughly similar to the time that the series takes to play on TV, so that the actors age at the right rate and the passage of time that the viewer feels is related to what the characters go through in the show. I think Mad Men sort of does that kind of thing with sort of representing roughly a year or so, and then they might skip ahead or something.
They skip to catch up. Yeah, I think True Blood is like Lost, where, I think True Blood started in 2007. I mean, these characters, I think, still are 2007.
Yeah.
If that's the day the show starts. They haven't been progressing, so they're kind of still back they haven't even hit the financial crisis yet. Just think what happens when True Blood, when that happens. And I guess Obama's not even elected yet. Wow, they're living in the past. They haven't even seen Google's new instant search.
Wow. I don't even think Twitter was a big deal back then, 2007.
Yeah, it was a pretty small deal back then, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff has changed.
Mhm.
That's so weird. I don't really think about that most of the time. It feels like the characters have been through enough for years.
Totally. Well, and I think that's why, Sookie's absence from work isn't that bad when you realize, it hasn't been years that she's not been working. It's only been a couple of weeks where she's been missing.
It's just been years that we've been watching her not working.
Yeah, exactly.
So it still feels that way. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, they've never done a time jump on True Blood.
They haven't, no.
I guess, that's what it is.
Yeah. Any other big things?
Let's see.
I mean, we're missing obviously a lot of things that have happened.
Oh, are we?
Sure.
I can't think of
anything. I'm sure
we
are.
We probably are, but I can't.
I mean, nothing that necessarily matters now, but stuff that happened that mattered at the time.
Yeah. I guess, the best thing I can think to do is to transition into maybe a bit of speculation about what's going to happen. In the next episode, I know that you had a theory that Eric would somehow use the fact that, I guess that's another thing we learned this season, if a vampire drinks fairy blood, then they can go out in the sun for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think your theory was that Eric would somehow use that to combat Russell, and that appears to be true pretty much. So I guess I'm wondering, how do you think that's going to resolve? I mean, personally, I think that, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm never good at that. But just based on sort of what I expect the show to do, I would say I think Eric's going to survive, and I think Russell is going to die. And I think they'll of course end on some kind of cliffhanger. I don't know what it'll be about, of course. It'll probably come out of nowhere. I think Jason will probably succeed in stopping the compound from being burned down, or at least stopping people from getting hurt. Maybe he'll be a hero or something. Sam and Tara, I don't know what they're going to do. They're in a weird place for the last episode. I have to say, in general, I would say that, the last episodes of True Blood seasons have usually not been spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, they're just not a monumental event. I guess Lost got me in that mode of thinking of the last episode as something very, significant. But in True Blood, it really usually is just kind of a tidy wrapping up of the stories, and then a cliffhanger. So I guess that's why I'm expecting the Eric Russell thing to resolve with somehow Eric's, getting out of that situation, and they're able to kill Russell, and and so that crisis is averted.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly is going to happen with Eric and Russell. Obvious statement. But in terms of a guess, I don't know if I have a guess either. I want to think that, like you said, Eric is going to live, Russell's going to die. But they're handcuffed together, so something has to happen to where, Eric either gets out of those handcuffs.
It's like a puzzle. See if you can figure out how Eric lives and Russell dies.
This is some weird, puzzle or magic thing.
Given this situation that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to, the power of the external, introducing the external thing, is going to happen here. Something's going to happen that hadn't happened yet that's going to change that situation.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders, and I don't think this is true, but part of me wonders if we will see that maybe when you're on fairy blood and you're outside, you start to burn at a certain point, but maybe you don't actually die. maybe that'll be the twist. Like they're getting burned, but it's going to stop short of them dying or something. So they'll have to work their. It won't just be that the son will kill Russell. It'll be that they're both weakened or something, and now they'll fight each other, and then they'll have to kill each other sort of more on those terms, or more even terms, or something like that. Otherwise, the simple idea is Eric has to get out of the handcuffs while leaving Russell outside. How do you do that?
Yeah.
So something tells me they're gonna twist. My wild guess is they're gonna twist this fairy blood reaction. They're gonna we don't know all there is to know about what happens when you're on it. That's what I want to think. So maybe some new thing will or the other idea. My other guess is they'll both be outside dying, and they'll kind of be dying, and then Sookie will run out and give Eric some more of her blood, and Russell won't get any, and he'll die, and Eric won't, or something like that.
Okay.
Because I think she's inside, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's gonna want to run out there when she finds out Eric's dying. She's gonna want to run and help him. So.
Yeah.
I'm sure Bill will be like, no, don't.
Of course he will.
Yeah, you already see that coming.
Yes, that's just Bill's comfort zone. Telling Sookie not to get into a dangerous situation.
Yeah. That he got her into.
Yes.
I don't really have any concrete, and I hate not having concrete ideas. As a writer, I hate not being able to figure things out, but I can't because so much of it is about their destination, where they're going to go to. So I don't have that key piece of information, but I would love it if somehow Russell doesn't die, and I don't know. I'd like to have him just not even necessarily on the show, but just in the world, and the idea that he could come back again, I think would be cool.
I agree. I would like it if he didn't have to die, and he doesn't have to be a regular character on the show, but I like the idea that he's still out there and they could bring him back at some point. Because it's just, I don't know, sucks to have a good character go away forever.
Yeah, his when he broke into the news studio and gave the whole speech on TV, that was so great. That's one of the best moments of the season. It was too much.
Fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They did bring us a little bit more Godric this season, which I didn't expect. I guess that happened before. I guess that we already talked about that on the previous podcast, but
the flashback to the World War stuff with tracking down Russell. Yeah.
Yeah. But
so it's pretty clear, as we talked about before, that was the only reason for that flashback.
Yep.
Was just to say, hey, he's tracking down this werewolf clan because they're connected to the vampire who killed his family.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. You called it. You had it.
It was so crazy. Now I know that they'll do stuff like that. They'll do one because like Sam's storyline, his little flashback about stealing the jewelry. I think that's done.
Oh, I agree.
We're not going to get more heists or and I think Lost conditioned me to think that with flashbacks that we get one flashback, but we got to get the next flashback to continue that storyline.
Right.
But it's like no, it's only to make a point about the present, not to give you more story about that flashback.
Yeah. I fell into the Lost trap of thinking, well, if they show us all this, this scene in World War II, they're going to have to do more with that. They're going to have to, tell us what's going on. And, I guess they do, but very, indirectly, they don't show it again.
Yeah, I would love to see Godric and Eric romping around World War II Europe.
Absolutely. I will watch that.
That's the whole show. I'd watch it all day long. I'd probably get tired of it at a certain point, but damn it, I'd come back the next day and continue to watch.
Yep, absolutely. Godric was both good and extremely disappointing.
He got, when he showed up, he was really disappointing. That the whole, and it really is not his fault. It's his fault to the extent it was his motivation, but the storyline with Fellowship of the Sun and why he was captured but not really captured, and he volunteered to be with them, but they didn't really think so. They didn't seem to be in on it.
Not at all.
And he's trying to make some point about cooperation that they're not even thinking about.
They didn't give a shit about that.
It was very disconnected, and he didn't tell his prized progeny that alliteration, didn't mean to do that. Sorry, spontaneous alliteration.
That we should put a warning on this podcast.
Oh no! Warning: this podcast contains spontaneous alliteration. Not sure when it will happen. He didn't tell Eric that he was doing this whole thing and not to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt very disconnected and weird. And
totally.
Yeah, you're right. Godric had a lot of good parts. His death was great.
Yep.
Suki's still talking about that.
Yes.
That's her whole
It
reason
was
for
last week, so now it makes more sense, but...
Yeah, it was last week. And so, yeah, that's why she still thinks Eric has a good side, is just because of that's soft side she saw of him when Godric died.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing about that, I want to tell Suki, is that might be the only soft side he has.
Yeah.
Like, you saw it. That's it. There's no, that well is dry. Like, it's got 2 drops, and it was only for his maker. And he cried those tears. You know what I mean? It's like, this is the most, probably, the most emotional situation he's going to be in, is the death of his maker, the voluntary death of his maker.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, you see him like that, and that makes sense, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's got more than that to give in other situations.
Yes. Right, yeah. And also, just because he has that side doesn't mean, that's a bigger part of his character than his dark side.
Yeah.
It's I mean, Suki's, she's taken in by certain things, and I think that display was just a kind of exactly the kind of thing that gets her interest / attention. Yeah,
Eric has been interesting the last couple episodes. I guess since really he sort of betrayed Suki and turned her over to Edgington and that whole stuff, and because I feel like I haven't been able to tell where he's coming from or when he's sincere or not. Especially in the last couple episodes when he's like, she's doing certain things, and he's, and then he tells Suki, if I die before I kiss you, I'll regret it. And I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you doing that because you were trying to manipulate her? Are you doing that because you really like her, or both?
Yeah.
And I don't know which one it is, and it's interesting to just, because Eric didn't used to be like that. He didn't used to really be ambiguous like that.
Mhm.
But he's in a bind. He's trying to play this situation that he's in, so it's understandable. But it's like I can't tell what he's saying, and I don't really know. I feel like he's interested in Suki, and I feel like he likes her to an extent, but I don't see why he would love her, though, other than unless it has something to do with her being a fairy and he's had her blood and stuff like that. Like, again, it's like, I know why Bill and Suki love each other. We've seen it. It makes sense to me. I know why Eric would be interested and infatuated with Suki, but I don't know how he would sort of be in love with her to a great extent.
Yeah. I think it is more of an infatuation type thing, but it's. I definitely have gotten the sense this season that he has priorities that go above her.
Yeah.
In particular, his grudge against Russell.
Mhm.
I think he, if he thought it was to his advantage, he would throw her under the bus for the revenge.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I do think he cares about her to a certain extent. Just that, he's willing to sacrifice her for other purposes if it's called for.
Yeah. Well, the Magister died.
Oh yeah. Oh, the
Magister.
Magister
Was beheaded.
Yes. Yeah, that didn't really matter much. Neither did the selling V subplot.
Oh man, oh my goodness, that mattered. Well, it mattered for those episodes they were dealing with it, and then it came to nothing.
Yeah,
it was really like, and I'm kind of glad they got rid of the Magister. I like that actor too. I've seen him in a lot of.
I do too. Yeah, he's good.
But it really was cumbersome. And then the blonde lady, the leader of the the Vampire League or whatever.
Nan Flanagan.
Yeah, Nan Flanagan. Is she Nordic too? Also, it seems a very, very Nordic name. Norwegian. I don't know, or is that Irish? That's Irish.
Yeah, it sounds more Irish to me.
Yeah, Flanagan.
Flanagan, at least.
Yeah, and you can just tell like where she got that name from. But she comes in with the whole thing and the authority, which I really liked. I really liked the idea of the authority until they showed us the authority. I really was disappointed when we kind of saw the people who it was. I love the idea of this amorphous organization that was controlling vampire politics.
Oh, when did that happen? I don't even remember what you're talking about.
The scene where Nan comes to Fantasia and interviews Eric on the record about Edgington and all that stuff.
Right.
And he's got the webcams on him, and he's talking to those people.
Oh yeah.
And they cut to the people who are watching Eric's testimony. That's the authority.
Okay.
And I thought, because it was cool with the high tech stuff, up until the point they actually showed. I think you only see them in silhouette, or you see behind them or something. You don't see their faces, but I don't know. Just the fact that you see that it's just a couple of people or something, it just took the mystery out of the authority. I really enjoyed when it was really mysterious and the authority. We don't know who they are and what they do, but they do a lot of stuff. And but yeah. So anyway, my point is that whole thing. She got his testimony about Russell, and I guess Eric basically was saying Russell's a threat to their plans, and they basically disavowed any knowledge like it never happened. So
right.
So that whole V selling thing and all the repercussions following didn't really matter.
Yes. Yeah. And it all felt like bullshit from the start. It was like,
yeah, it did.
The Queen was doing it because she needed money for taxes and because she had tax problems.
Then Eric said that Bill was responsible. Like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, right.
And then Bill was like, you trying to pin that on me? And it's like,
yeah.
It's like, I'm not buying any of this. Like, it just seems ridiculous. Like, no one seems to be acknowledging how silly this is.
Yeah.
And they even had this scene with Eric and Lafayette where it seemed like Eric was sort of tutoring Lafayette on how to be a better drug dealer.
And they dropped that. They totally dropped
it. He gave him a car, It was a whole thing, and now it just didn't seem to matter at all.
It seemed like there was going to be a storyline with Lafayette selling V,
Yeah.
And maybe they only had that storyline start to get Lafayette a supply of V he could do with Jesus.
Oh, okay.
But maybe it wasn't about him, really. I mean, it was a red herring when they, to a certain, in this perspective, that they showed us that he was getting tutored on how to sell V more effectively, but really it just seems like the long-term effect was he's got V that he can do with, obviously healing the guy who he was going to sell the V to anyway, the Panther Daddy, and healing him with the V, but then that leading into the Jesus V stuff, and then of course that leading into whatever else they're going into. So it kind of makes sense in a way if that's what it was about, but it was very tenuous. All the connections that people had, the different storylines about selling V were just very tenuous, and like nobody's buying this, and gave him the car, which I guess just so they could smash it, and that's about it. So
yeah. Oh, I forgot they smashed the car. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's weird they have
Well,
those little connections. Like Lafayette was tied into Crystal's family for a little bit.
Yeah, that's when he finds out about the V, is when the rednecks or whatever, the redneck Panthers come and trash his car. So.
Yeah. Forgot about that stuff. But yeah, I guess at the end of last season, I thought of that as a bigger question. It just, I can see what they did with it, but it just, I don't know.
The V?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does not seem like a big deal.
Because there were a lot of threats going around about it, and it just seemed like a big deal to everyone. But it just wasn't in the end. I guess the Queen was the source of it originally, and she's been dethroned basically by Russell and just turned into. Do you think she's gonna be reinstated after this thing with Russell plays out? Or do you think there'll be a new...
I hope she stays in that cage. I know why the cage the Vampire Queen sings. That was the alternate title for Maya Angelou's book.
I think she made a better choice, but it was an interesting alternate.
I don't think we were ready for that story yet.
No. Yeah.
Well, now that Talbot's gone, I mean, there is a room for, sort of, in terms of just logistically and status-wise, somebody, a companion for Russell. Not that they would be romantic at all.
Right.
They're both into the same sex, respectively. Because she hasn't, slept with a man since the Hoover administration. Something like that.
I believe it was Eisenhower.
Oh, Eisenhower. Excuse me.
Please, get it right.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to say, as crass as this might sound, after Ike, she went dyke.
Oh.
I'm sorry to have to say that, but it's too funny.
Nice. Wow.
Apologize for any offense, if that's offensive to anyone.
Yeah. I don't know.
Eisenhower fans or anyone.
Yeah. I hope there's not too many Eisenhower fans.
Well, we're talking about their favorite guys, so
that's
true.
Have
reason to listen.
True.
So is she going to be around more? Ugh. I mean, I hope not, only because I don't like her character.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was asking. I mean, I think she's one of those like big characters that they brought in that just kind of utterly failed.
Yeah.
And
I would say she is the probably the only big character they brought in that failed. Like to the extent that she has to the extent that she's on the show and has a part in the show, I think. Everybody else has done a lot better job.
Right. And the way they've belittled her this season, it feels like they kind of know that. Yeah. That she came across in a certain way that I'm not sure they fully intended. Yeah. When they were originally showing her.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is they decided to show us the first example of a vampire queen by showing us an atypical example of a vampire queen. So we go, oh, this is a vampire queen, and it's this character who is not what you think of as in a queen, really. Yeah. She's a good bratty princess.
Yes.
So I think that's part of the problem. I think the actress's portrayal is part of the problem. And I think really the storyline that she had to work with is part of the problem. It just hasn't been that interesting, and I think the best we could have hoped for is another actress who could have brought something more dynamic to the role and sort of surpass the storyline that was given to that character. But yeah, I just don't think the storyline's even that great. So you're sort of failing on a lot of different areas here.
Yeah. Yeah.
She had that one moment that I will always love when she jumped on Eric in Fantasia, and they had that weird effect and that weird audio scream, and I thought that was great. And that was her peak, and she hasn't ever gotten close to that again.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't really used her much this season.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of just took her out because, I guess with all that Russell's doing, she would be expected
get in the way.
Yeah, have some involvement.
And I'll say this, considering that for all intents and purposes, the Queen's actions is what starts True Blood. The Queen being
that's right.
and sending Bill to whatever extent back there.
That's another thing that we learned this season.
Yeah, and that's a big point, and you think they would connect that big point back to her character and make that her character more interesting because of that, and it doesn't. And it's like, she kind of doesn't get credit for doing that in a way,
Yeah, I forgot that she even did that.
Yeah,
because it just hasn't been. They haven't made a big deal out of it.
Mhm.
And they haven't really shown what she even wanted to do exactly.
That's the other thing, yeah.
Although I guess that's true with a lot of the characters who are interested in her. It seemed like they didn't quite know what they were going to get with her.
Well, but here's the deal. Everybody else except for the Queen didn't know what she was, and so they were intrigued by that. But the Queen knew what she was, therefore should have had a plan of what she wanted from her.
Yes.
But never really seemed like she had a plan.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Well, and why does the Queen even know what she is anyway?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And you would think, I don't know, that whole thing, and not that it's a retcon, but it just seems a little lackluster, that explanation that the Queen was behind this when she never seemed that interested in Sookie.
No.
All the time she's playing Yahtzee, you think that if she knows where there's a fairy who notoriously have this tasty blood, that she would want Sookie for herself and to come in and all that stuff. And
she knew Bill was there because Sookie was in danger because this man had taken over the town, and she didn't really seem to care.
She didn't care at all. And she sent him to, do recon on Sookie, yet she never seemed to ask for updates.
No.
She never... So, I don't know, maybe it is a retcon.
It feels like a retcon.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to think it was, but, it's in retcon territory.
Yeah. I didn't ever get a sense there was acknowledgement of that last season, so... Nothing where I was like, there's something going on with them, like, that we didn't know before. I mean... Yeah. I don't really buy that, but whatever. That's why they call it a retcon.
Yeah, exactly.
True Blood's, getting up there now. It's time to start retconning things.
Yep. Happens to every show.
It really does. You do what you have to. I think I would say season 2 did have a low point between the earlier part of the season and the later part of the season where it felt like not a lot was happening. Some of those episodes were not the best, although they had some good parts. But I do think that last season had a sharp focus that this season lacks. And so I think as a whole, I think last season was more successful. There's been a lot of good stuff this season, but it feels more slapped together. It doesn't seem to hold together very well. It doesn't seem very coherent. So I think I would say I think last season was just better planned. It feels like they had a better unified vision of how the season would develop.
Well, yeah, I think season 2 was almost an anomaly in the sense they had one main villain who was systematically, attacking various characters and warping the town at large into her fold. So it had this singular focus versus this season where characters are all over the place, all trying to do different things, and almost no two characters very few characters are dealing with the same things.
Right.
Jason's only tangentially dealing with Russell in terms of Sookie being protected.
Yeah.
And he's protecting her from werewolves. Here's Jason, no werewolves are coming for her. I think we're done with the werewolves. I don't think any werewolves are after Sookie anymore, and he's still thinking they are. So I think that tells you something.
Yeah.
I think it has been all over the place, and that's in and of itself not bad, but I think it has felt it's a little slapped together in the sense that it's not as tight as the other seasons, and there seems to be extraneous storylines and really sort of too many storylines. And I hate to say that because the more the better, but not when they're not interesting, I guess. So,
exactly. Yeah. If you're going to throw that many out there, then I guess the idea is quantity over quality, but I think there's too many where the quality is dipping, and so it just feels like I'd rather spend more time on the stuff that's working, than get extra scenes about other things that aren't very interesting.
Yeah, I'd take some more scenes with Terry and Arlene and their domestic arrangement, even with the kids. I like the kids.
Oh yeah, the kids are good.
For TV show kids who show up every now and then, I like those kids.
Yeah.
And
although they do have that like Aster and Cody syndrome.
I think they play it better though. I agree with you, but I think they play it better somehow.
It's weird, like Mad Men has it too. Like,
what is it with the boy girl? Yeah, the little.
Yeah,
all the girls are older, right?
Yeah, the girls are older. They're the more sort of complicated, knowing one that has like more, pre-adolescent kind of problems, and then there's the more simplistic younger boy who just has very simple desires. And
I'll add a fourth show which is sort of relevant because Dennis O'Hare was on it. Brothers and Sisters. Speaking of Alan Ball, 6 Feet Under, Rachel Griffiths is on.
Oh yeah,
too.
That's right. Yeah.
And she plays a mom who has 2 kids, and the girl is older. And that's exactly when they deal with those storylines. It's the older girl is going through the older kid stuff, the rebellion and getting older and the cliques with friends, and the younger kid is dealing with the little kid. I mean, obviously it makes sense. You got to deal with the psychology of your characters, but But it is weird that there's 4 shows with the older girl, and the younger boy.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of this, and they're all experiencing the same kinds of issues, So it just feels like Aster and Cody over and over and over. That's my template, just because I know their names. I don't actually know the names of Arlene's kids or the names of Don and Betty's kids. But
it's Don and Betty is. I did know their name. Well, I knew the girl's name.
I should know her name, but I don't remember it now.
I can't think of it because I'm thinking of Aster and Cody.
Yeah.
And I did know the True Blood kids' names, but now I'm thinking of Aster and Cody.
You knew the True Blood kids' names? Oh man.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry for Aster and Codying. It's infectious. I think those are well-chosen names because they've been very easy for me to remember.
I forget now, but...
But I'll just, while you're thinking, I'll just echo. I agree. I think the Arlene Terry stuff has been kind of underdeveloped. I mean, they haven't had a lot of scenes this season.
So
well,
now it's about the baby, the evil baby.
Right. But they could do more with them if they wanted.
Yeah. That's what was confusing me is it's Lisa and Kobe, and before you said Aster and Cody, I had remembered Lisa and Cody. Kobe.
Oh, it's Kobe.
It's Kobe, yeah, and that's what was confusing me because I kept thinking, what are their names? And I kept only hearing Cody.
Oh, okay.
It's Lisa and Kobe.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, like I'm saying, I would take, cut out cut out Jason and
yeah, Hutchie Mc, what's his name again? Butch, I forgot.
Oh yeah. Cut out Jason and Kitch.
Kitch, there you go.
Yeah, Kitch Maynard. I was gonna say McHenry.
Okay, yeah.
Kitch Maynard.
Kitch Maynard. Yeah, that's.
And I'll take some more Terry Arlene scenes any day. Terry's great. I don't know what it is about. There's something about as Sam would put it, a shell-shocked vet who has these sort of social issues stemming from his situation, but he's got this other weird positive characteristic to him too.
Almost a Zen-like quality.
Yeah, and very, very powerful and almost spiritual in a way, and he plays the part so well, and it's interesting to see that dynamic, and I like when when Arlene tells him, the baby's not yours, and he's like, I'm gonna raise this baby like he's mine, and he's like, oh, Terry, you're killing me, man. You're killing me,
yeah,
and then when he and the doctor in the hospital scene, after she thinks she's had the miscarriage, and the doctor says no, the baby's fine, and he just instantly is happy,
completely elated, yeah,
and just he can't control himself, and you just want to be happy for this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it just sucks that Arlene wanted the baby to be dead.
Yeah, I did too.
I did too. But yeah. I felt bad for Terry because I think he really just, I guess he doesn't see it as a problem that it's Renee's kid.
Yeah.
Which I'm inclined to say too, but I guess, I don't feel like they'd bring it up if they weren't going to make it something, So presumably there will be something going on. I guess, this world is getting crazier and crazier. I guess I feel like they've thrown a lot of creatures at us, right? And then there's this fairy thing, and then with the fairies it's even a little bit extra weird because they have this other world somewhere where you can go in certain situations. So that's kind of crazy. And then also with Lafayette and Jesus, they're introducing this idea of this, I don't know, black magic kind of thing going on, and even also with the new waitress who did the
I think it's Holly.
Holly, okay, yeah. Names, yeah. So with her, coming in, like it seems like they're kind of. It was weird because with Miss Jeanette, it seemed like they were saying she was a fraud, and it happened to be that Marianne sort of took advantage of the situation, and so something real happened. But in the end, she didn't really have any powers. Go ahead. But it sounds like now. They're saying that to a certain extent there is like magic, and that's weird. That's to me that's going a level beyond just the supernatural creatures being around.
Well, because to a certain extent, supernatural creatures, can be explained in real world biology and chemistry and physics.
Yes. Even
if it's incredulous or doesn't really add up, but saying that there's this amorphous magic is something that you shouldn't be able to pin down in science.
Yes.
Or it would seem like they won't. And so it's interesting, and I'm wondering if Holly's witchcraft is going to tie into Lafayette and Jesus' stuff.
Yeah, it did occur to me that they might do some kind of some kind of thing with them. I mean, she is working at Merlotte's, and Lafayette, of course, works there as well. And so I could see somehow him going to her or something where they have some kind of, he doesn't know what to do about this situation with Jesus, and maybe I could see them going that way, possibly.
Yeah, because that's what she does. She helps people.
Exactly. Yeah.
She gives them solutions.
Yeah.
I don't distrust her. I don't distrust Holly.
I don't either.
I feel like I should.
Me too.
Like every waitress who comes in there has some ulterior motive at some point.
I know. That's the thing. Like, it's become like the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher in Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah. They're the bad guy. Whoever takes that position is going to make trouble at Hogwarts this year, I think. That's just that you guys should know that. It's almost like their job description for that teaching position is you have to be villainous.
Right.
By the end of the semester, you must cause X amount of havoc, or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the connection is already kind of there because to teach it, they have to know something about the dark arts already. So, there's always kind of a hint of evil about the subject to begin with. So I think that's why, it was chosen to be kind of the villain's chair for the whole time. But it's pretty ridiculous, and it feels like this waitress position is the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe what we're going to find out is somebody cursed Merlotte to where
oh shit, that's what happened in Harry Potter. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Every waitress who comes there ends up being bad or evil or something.
Yes. Is that why you said that?
No, I didn't know it. So what happens in Harry Potter? Yeah.
So we find out in the sixth book, so the movie's already out, so I feel free to spoil it for some reason, that Voldemort actually tried to take that position, and when he... Yeah, and when he didn't get it, he cursed it.
That's really funny. Serendipity there. I did see that movie though, but I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, I think they actually cut out that part from the movie.
Was that supposed to be in the flashbacks?
Yes.
With when he's a kid or something?
Yeah, there's a flashback where he goes and talks to Dumbledore about wanting that job, and it's a follow up to the Dumbledore and him seeing when he's a kid in the orphanage.
Okay.
So yeah, they just cut that out of the movie, but basically it should have been there in the story by now.
Mhm. It just made me think of that. It made me think of it's not even the people; it's just the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I think it's the people.
I think it's supposed to explain why no one keeps it for more than a year.
Mhm.
More so than
I'm talking about True Blood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Harry Potter.
Yeah, well, you're on the wrong podcast.
Okay. Anyway, I thought it was interesting you came up with the same reason why.
Well, listen, the only difference between me and JK is, a couple of initials and gender, right?
Mhm. Pretty much.
All right. Well, anything else? I think we covered a lot of the major stuff, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't hit all the details, but time has proven that some of those weren't particularly significant. So I think I brought up everything that I thought was worth discussing. I can't think of anything else.
So we met Claudine.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the leader of the elves. I'm sorry, the fairies.
Please, fairies.
Fine line. And
and Bill even meets her.
Yeah, and then that was weird when Bill traveled there.
Yeah.
So what do I think is going to happen in the next episode? I don't know. I mean, I remember this time last season, they were about to go storm, Marianne, and I think knock her down a peg or two.
Yeah.
And then I remember the finale was sort of lackluster in the sense that they just kind of wrapped up the story. So I don't know how they're going to wrap up this season. Everything seems not yet finished. I mean, it seems like so many people are just beginning whatever they started this season. Like Sam, like doesn't it seem like he's just beginning to go on whatever character arc they had for him this season?
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously spent a lot of time with him and his brother, but in
Right.
terms of his character arc, in terms of growth or something, it seems like, well, he's starting that now.
Yeah.
So is next season going to be the wild, reckless Sam or something? Where
Yeah,
he
it feels
tries
like he's
to
hitting
do
a
other
turning
stuff?
point.
Yeah, it's weird to hit it here.
Yeah, at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It seems like maybe that is something they'll roll over into next season.
Seems like a lot of things are going to have to roll over. I mean, they can probably most likely tie up the Russell Eric's conflict.
Yeah, I think they definitely will tie that.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
What's her name? Crystal and Jason. It's like, well, unless in the next episode he saves the people or they raid the place or whatever, something's got to happen. And I think she's just gonna have to leave. Maybe they'll raid the place.
Yeah.
And it'll turn out okay to a certain extent. And then she's just going to have to leave, I think. I don't think she's not going to be around next season.
No.
And I feel like I don't think she's going to die. I feel like she's just going to have to leave and, tell Jason bye.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody will be after her or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe she'll have to go on the run for some reason.
Yeah. And she doesn't want him to come with her.
Of course not.
Because she's going to stay on the show.
Yeah. And, I mean, in general, she seems to never want his help.
Well, she wants his help. She doesn't want his love or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
She wants him to do stuff every now and then.
Yeah.
Except when she wants him to stop doing stuff.
Right.
And then, so Jesus and Lafayette, I think, obviously that's going to continue next season. What can they do next episode? I think they're going to probably go one step further towards whatever they did with the Flash that he had.
Yeah, I think that's the most they can do with that this season.
Yeah, maybe part of the cliffhanger will be the grandfather coming into the picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or somehow getting that going with whatever they're going to do with that. Maybe he, maybe I don't know if they're going to make him a real character villain, but if they did, it could be something like he somehow sensed that they did this V trip, and or something, and so he comes to track down his grandson.
Yeah. Right.
Arlene and Terry, I guess. What could she find out next episode? She doesn't want the baby. So, you think she's going to try again?
No, not in the next episode. I could see her going to Holly and, telling her it didn't work and maybe asking her if there's anything else she can do or whatever. But I don't think there'll be another attempt in the next episode.
Okay. Then what else? So Sookie, she's a character, right? What is she doing? I don't even know she's just kind of trapped between what's going on with Eric and Russell.
She's kind of a pawn right now.
Her trust with Bill, I guess, is really the only big thing. And
yeah.
She's not even really dealing with the fact that she's a fairy.
No, not at all. That's on the back burner.
That's going to have to come to play next episode.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think there may be some development of the fairy storyline.
Well, that would be a good cliffhanger if somehow Sookie has to go to the fairyland. I just said that.
I mean, what can you do? That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for having to make you hear that. But, yeah, maybe I feel like that'd be a good cliffhanger if we end on her going over there and we don't know where she goes.
Oh,
like
okay.
if she has to hide, like, I don't know if Russell is still around or he's still a threat or something, and the only alternative is for her to hide out there or some other reason to get her to go there. But, you know, the cliffhangers, we don't see her on the other side till next season.
Right.
What else could they do? I mean, I think she's got to help Eric out. Eric's not going to die, so... Yeah, I feel like somehow she's going to help Eric at the last second and he's going to live and Russell will be dead.
Yeah.
You know, or either... I like the idea of them fighting it out to a certain extent, you know, being both weakened and sort of more on even ground.
Mhm.
What other storylines? Sam, I guess... I don't know if Sam and Tara were just having a drink or if they're really starting on a new, a rekindling of their romance or not.
Yeah, I don't either. It seems like it could go either way. At this point in the season, I don't think they can do that much with it. You know, if they're going to go anywhere with it, it'll have to be next season.
Mhm. Well,
it might just be a one-off
Tommy
thing.
do? Tommy stole money, didn't he? And took off?
That's right. Yeah. I wonder if, presumably Sam's going to reopen Merlotte's at some point and, like, hire some of those people back, right? Or do you think there's any chance they'll just close it down?
No, it's a staple of the show. They have too many scenes at Merlotte's.
I know.
Close it, I think. Yeah, he's going to open it. I think Merlotte's is one. You know, it's such a weird place. Obviously, the last couple of weeks, if you've been to Merlotte's in the last couple of weeks, you know it's a weird place.
Yeah.
Vampires hang out there. You know, the bartender. You know, the waitresses might glamour you.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird place, and you know, people have gotten kicked out of there before.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's no other place to go, so they just have to come back. So they don't, even though they're pissed about Sam being rude, they'll be back next week because where else are they going to go drink and eat and stuff? I feel like it's that small of a town where, you know, they're pissed at Sam, but they're still going to go back.
Well, I guess I was more wondering about Sam not reopening the place. You know.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? I mean, what else is he going to do?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, Sam had an opportunity to leave when he first was kind of packing up because of Marianne, and I thought, oh, maybe he's going to try to leave, and he didn't. And I think he's not leaving. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Now, what's going to happen, I don't know, but I know it's not going to happen.
That's easier.
And then what else we got? You know, speaking of Lafayette though, before and his black magic stuff, his mom did drop some hints about him being powerful.
Yes, she did.
She you know, literally sort of broke out of the institution to tell him this stuff. I mean, that's really kind of the only thing she really did was that, and kind of like sort of support his relationship with Jesus to a certain degree, and that's about all she did before she was taken back. So I think there was something there that he's got some power. Lala's got some power.
I think you're right. Yeah, and I'm assuming that'll tie into that storyline to some extent. It'll be explained by whatever they do, maybe, or we'll get the opportunity to see what that means in that story or something. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah. Well, anything else?
Trying to go through the whole town in my head. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I guess the sheriff is really just gone. He's just not on the show anymore.
Oh, he called it quits, and he is done.
I wonder if that actor just wanted to leave, because it was very abrupt and very well, it was very abrupt. I mean,
well, but I think it fits in with where they're going with the show. I think he had to leave for Andy to become sheriff and elevate and basically bring Jason along in his coattails. I think it seemed abrupt, but also like it was an abrupt decision. It was like, I can't handle one more murder.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm quitting. So I mean, it's hard to tell. Yeah, since they wrote it as an abrupt change, it's hard to tell if it's just because they wrote it that way, or if because I feel like if he wanted off the show, it would have been further enough along in production that he would have told them that they could have dropped hints or something about his retirement, and they could have made it a retirement thing. But they made it he's just quitting because he can't handle stuff. So, but.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess, if he's on another show, we'll see. But I think it does make sense story-wise that he would leave.
Oh, I agree. I mean, they made it work.
Yeah.
And I think they had brought Andy to a point where he could assume the role of sheriff and not seem ridiculous.
Yeah, he could be thrust into it and have to deal with it, yeah.
God, there's a lot of characters on this show.
There is a lot of characters and a lot going on.
Man.
I mean, I think every character has at least 2 storylines.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Jesus.
I mean, even Tommy. Tommy has 3 or 4. I mean, he's got the thing with Jessica, he's got the thing with his brother, he's got the thing with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, that's a lot for a minor character.
It really is, yeah. Yeah. I wonder if he's going to be back next season.
I like Tommy.
Or if he's just going to run off with the money, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I hope he's back. I like Tommy. He's got an interesting quality to him, and I thought it was apt for them to have the the sort of comparison between Tommy and Sam. Being brothers, of course, and having the same power and all that stuff, and how they use it, and Tommy's maturity and all that stuff. So.
Yeah.
I thought it was nice to have him around, and I thought he was a pretty decent character.
Yeah. I agree. I think he's good. I'm still slightly skeptical of him. I don't quite know what to make of his character really. But but I think he's been good on the show.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much everybody. Pam, she's wrapped up with Eric's stuff.
Yeah, Pam's had a lot of fairly sentimental stuff this season.
She has, yeah.
It's been weird. It's like the connection between her and Eric has gotten really emotional in a way that it never really did in previous seasons.
Yeah.
Eric caring about her and her caring about Eric, or just, I don't know, never really played to that extent. I guess the idea is, they're in this situation where they're actually in danger, and
Well, yeah, before everything was sort of fine.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been weird to see. She's such a cold, stony character. It was weird to see her, just kind of worrying about Eric, and She pulls it off, and I have to say when Sookie grabs the chain, and when she's locked up in the dungeon and she escapes, and she they have Pam tied up with the silver chain, and after Pam had just been fighting Bill for a little bit and spraying him with that silver spray, right?
and then she says, "I'm not your enemy," I'm not the enemy, and I'm thinking, please listen to her. She really isn't. Like, she really wishes you guys no harm. Like, this is not about you guys right now. Like, I felt bad for her in that situation, you know, and then she's like, don't leave me here with this, you know, idiot or whatever she said about the Slovenian stripper that was there.
Right.
I really felt sorry for her of like, you know, you didn't, you know, Bill didn't have to fight Pam. You know, he didn't have to fight her. I don't know, I felt like she is an ally because, you know, if Eric is on the same page with what's going on, then Pam is too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so, and even though Eric just, you know, did just put Sookie down there, but I think that was just to get them all in one place. Really.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, so. But anyway, so yeah, next week we will see the finale of season 3. It seemed like the season went by so fast.
It really did, yeah.
I remember when it first started thinking, oh, there's so much True Blood. But, you know, it's only 12 episodes, and it goes by fast.
Yeah, these cable shows, they really keep it short.
Mm-hmm.
I like it in a way, but it does always feel like it goes by fast.
Totally.
Well, but overall, I think it's been good. I mean,
yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I've been happy with this season. I feel like season 2 had a bit more, you know, sort of decided lulls than this season has had.
Yeah, that's true.
This season had more storylines I didn't like. So there's, you know, sort of pros and cons for both, obviously. You know, season 2 is more for the one big battle at the end. And this has been more, you know, not a big battle at the end, but a lot of smaller battles throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
Sort of all over the place. They like to travel a lot. I'm surprised how much they travel. I mean, they were in Dallas for part of the season in season 2.
Right.
Then they went over to Mississippi in this season.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about half the season that was based in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the same kind of thing they did last year.
So, do you think that they're done with that telepath guy who they met in Dallas, the bellhop?
Yes, I do.
Is he supposed to be a fairy too, and he probably doesn't know it?
Maybe.
Maybe you think maybe Sookie will tell him, or maybe he'll come back in season 4 when she feels the need to tell him he's a, you know, maybe she'll need a fairy, you know, a helper. Oh God, fairy helper. You know, someone to help her who is also a fairy, and so she'll remember that guy and go track him down or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting. I forgot about that guy.
I feel like you don't bring that up. You don't bring up someone who's like Sookie, who you thought was the only person ever like that.
Yeah.
And then just not bring them up ever again. I feel like he's got to come back at some point.
Yeah. I see what you mean. It doesn't seem like he's coming back, but it would make sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, that guy. Well, back then, I just thought she was a telepath, so I didn't necessarily think it was a big deal. I just figured, you know, because of the nature of the ability, you know, telepaths are more secretive about what they can do.
And now Sookie's nephew is a telepath.
Oh, that's right.
So
yes.
I guess that means he's got the fairy blood too, which is going to be an issue at some point.
Yes.
Maybe not for us, but for him in the long run, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird. Fairies are telepathic. That's not really something And
that's another thing I kind of want them to explicitly say, that if you are telepathic, you're a fairy.
Yeah.
Because it could be two different things.
There's just, you know, different situations where people are telepaths, and one of them...
Yeah, just like there's different kinds of werepeople.
Right.
And, you know, there's different kinds of telepaths, and
yeah,
you know, being a fairy gives you the telepathic gift, but it's not, you're not just a telepath like maybe that other guy is. So.
It's more than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a point. I guess that's kind of what I was thinking. I never thought of that guy. Well, I didn't really think of that guy at all, but when you initially mentioned him, I didn't think that he was necessarily a fairy just because he, but on the other hand, with Sookie's nephew, it definitely seems like he's supposed to be, it's the same family, so, it makes sense that he would have that. So I think maybe that's what we're supposed to think, but I don't know.
Yeah,
you're right. They should say it.
They should say it. All right. Well, anything else before we wrap up the podcast? I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
No, I think that's it. Good review, good bit of the season. I enjoyed it overall. I would say, there really wasn't an episode that I thought was bad.
Mm-mm.
It's just parts, and because it's so disjointed, it's kind of easy to say, well, I didn't like that part, but this part's good,
Yeah. No, overall it's been pretty good. I definitely enjoyed it. It's, they're still progressing a lot since the beginning, since the first season, so.
Yeah. The show's changed a lot since then. It's really, it feels like a different show now. Everybody's supernatural now, and it's going into really, really crazy territory.
Yeah.
Maenads are just the beginning. Just gonna say it.
Yeah, it was a big beginning too.
It was. So yeah, I think that's
strangely
it.
Strangely enough, Bon Ton is just this hub of supernatural activity. I love how in the most, you would maybe imagine something like this taking place in a big city where there's more people, so there's more going on, but it's this little small town where, half the population is a supernatural, so it feels like it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I wonder if they'll explain that.
Mm-hmm.
Like somehow Bon Ton is the source of some power that all the supernatural creatures got their descent from, or something.
Yeah, there's different places around the world or something.
Yeah.
And they sort of congregate around it, unknowingly to them, unbeknownst to them.
Yeah, they're just kind of drawn to it unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think they'll necessarily say that, but I like that idea.
No, they won't say that. Well, all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, and this time we mean it.
We wouldn't lie.
Again, we'll be back with the next, with the finale of True Blood. I'm hoping it's great, but as you said, they're never spectacular.
Yeah, I hope reasonable expectations. I don't think it's going to be a crap episode, but
it's not going to be crap. No,
I'm just dialing down my hype of it to a certain extent. I don't want to expect it to be spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think it will be. I mean, I think pretty much it's going to wrap up the major storylines, introduce some new cliffhangers, and that's about it.
Well, the title, spoiler alert, is Evil is Going On.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there might be some evil going on in the episode.
I think you're right.
I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know what the evil's going to be.
Do you need to plug anything?
Plug anything? What's there to plug?
You, of course, can contact us at MrPodcastCJ@gmail.
Yeah.
And our Twitter is Mr. Podcast. So, yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We still don't have a good sign-off for our True Blood podcast, I won't lie.
What was it? Fangulator? No, Staculator.
Staculator. How about... I don't know. See, there it is. I don't know.
Yeah. That last one came so quick and easy.
Mhm. Part of it was an actual salutation.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Or that's not a salutation. It's a. Is that a salutation? No, it's not a salutation.
Not really. I mean, sort of.
What is there a word for those things?
Yeah, I think there is a word. Let's see. Yeah, it's not coming.
I don't know what it is, but post-salutation, I think is the word.
Yeah, pretty much.
I forgot what I was saying. So I don't know. It's hard to come up with that stuff. But yeah, the thanks namaste thing was namaste is an actual post salutation. So. Right.
And it was used in the show as a sign off.
Yeah.
So it sort of, naturally worked.
We should do something like Russell did as a sign off. We will eat your children. Is that an appropriate sign-off for our podcast?
Okay, sure.
Tell our listeners, until next time, we'll eat your children.
Yes, we will, and then we will eat you.
And then we will eat you.